Chapter 1687. Lu Ming looked at the divine sun and sneered. "Don't worry, I'll kill you after the treasure sorting convention." Haha, how arrogant. Lu Ming, you won't have the chance to fight with senior brother Divine Sun. The treasure sorting convention will be your death date. Luo Shuihan laughed with contempt. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not say anything else. There was no point in saying anything more. The Divine Sun did not say anything either. He took a step forward and appeared on the celestial sex stand. Then an old man rose to the sky and stood in the air above the fighting stage, overlooking the whole place. This old man was the judge of the convention. He was from the Piyuan family. The Piyuan family had been eliminated during the treasure determining convention. Every time, the judge of the treasure determining convention was someone from the eliminated sect. That way it would be fairer and wouldn't be biased towards any side. I, Piyuan Gue, am the judge of this convention. Now, I will announce the rules of the treasure sorting convention. This treasure sorting convention will be different from the past because the rules have been changed. Piyuan Gue's voice echoed throughout the place. This convention will be divided into 2 rounds. A total of 10 sects will participate, and each sect will send out 20 people. The first round will be a selection. The 10 sects will enter 10 array worlds and hunt demonic beasts. Some of the demonic beasts will have a wind core in their bodies, while others do not. Your goal is to hunt for wind cores and then rank the top 80 based on the number of wind cores you have. Only the top 80 sects will enter the second round. Piyuan Gue explained. Everyone understood immediately. In the first round, only 80 people would be able to advance. The rest would be eliminated. The second round will be the point competition. 80 people will take turns to fight each other. Everyone will have to fight once, regardless of whether they are from the same sect or from different sections. Every victory will earn you 1 point. In the end, the sect with the most points will be the champion of this year's treasure sorting convention. That sect will have the right to control the 2 ancient treasures until the next treasure sorting convention. I will announce the rules of the second round when the second round begins. Piyuan Gue continued to speak and gave a rough account of the events of the second round. It's a point competition. Zifeng's eyes moved. This way, whichever sect has the most people in the first round will have an advantage in the second round. Lu Ming said, the more people who entered the second round, the higher the probability of obtaining points. Naturally, the total points of a sect would be higher. Now I'll open the formation, Piyuan Gue said. Then a powerful aura emanated from his body. With a wave of his hand, Saint Power surged. In the sky, 10 doors of light suddenly appeared. There are 10 array worlds here. These 10 array worlds are almost identical, and the difficulty is also the same. Now, each sect will enter an array world to hunt for the wind core. You only have half an hour. Breaking Origin returns announced. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As soon as Piyuan Gue finished speaking, the participants from the 10 great sects all rose into the air. Each sect had 20 people. Everyone randomly chose a door and rushed in. Dragon God Valley chose the nearest door, and the 20 of them rushed in. The next moment, they found themselves in a grassland. At first glance, the grassland was boundless. This world was a world created by a formation. It wasn't real. Everything here was fake. Only the wind core was real. Their target was the wind core. Roar! Not far away, a wind wolf stared at them and roared. Beast, check if there's a wind core. A 9th layer martial dominator rushed out and pounced on the wind wolf. The wind wolf howled and dashed forward like a gust of wind, causing the disciple of the Dragon God Valley to miss his target. Where do you think you're going? The disciple felt embarrassed that he missed, so he continued to pounce on the wind wolf. However, Wind Wolf's figure moved like the wind, and his speed was astonishing. For a moment, the disciple was unable to take him down. How fast? Are all the beasts here so fast? Someone's face darkened. If all the beasts here were so fast, it would not be easy to hunt for the wind core. We only have half an hour. Let's move quickly. Zifeng said, "It's better for us to team up. That way we can hunt faster." Lu Ming said, "If the beasts here were so fast, a single person would not be able to hunt for the wind core as fast as a team. All right, let's team up. Let's go." Zifeng said. Lu Ming went with Tian Chui and Xuanixin. Zifeng went with 2 disciples of the Violet Dragon Valley. The others followed suit and flew into the distance in groups of 3 to 5. The array world was extremely spacious, as if there was no end to it. The group dispersed into the array world and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming, Tian Chui, and Xuanixin flew forward at a rapid pace. They had covered a distance of a few thousand li in just a few moments. "There are a few beasts below." Xuanixin glanced downward. "Kill!" Tian Chui raised his giant hammer and swung it at the beasts. Bang! The giant hammer struck the ground, causing the ground to tremble and dust to fill the air. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures dashed out from the dust, which turned out to be the beasts. Their figures were as fast as the wind, allowing them to dodge Tian Chui's attack. "They're really fast. Watch me." Tian Chui waved his hand, and the giant hammer in his hand flew out like a bolt of lightning. Like a meteorite, it smashed into one of the beasts. The beast was crushed by the huge force and exploded. But at this time, the other demonic beasts had already fled far away. Lu Ming cast the Tempest Steps. His figure flashed, and he chased after a demonic beast. Within a few breaths, he caught up with the demonic beast. He threw a punch, and the demonic beast disintegrated, turning into energy and dissipating. No wind core! Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. There was no wind core among the beasts. Lu Ming then went to Tian Chui. Tian Chui said with a bitter face, "Ninth junior brother, there is no wind core. Have you found it?" "No." Lu Ming shook his head. Piyuan Gui said that some beasts do not have wind cores and some do. It seems that the probability of some beasts not being very high. Xuanixin said, "The beasts here are fast, and the probability of them having wind cores is not high. Moreover, we only have half an hour. If this continues, it will be difficult to hunt for enough wind cores." Tian Chui said, "It's fine. I have a way. Let's go find the beasts first." Lu Ming said. Then the 3 of them continued to fly and look for beasts. There was no lack of beasts on the grassland. After a while, they saw a few beasts. 9 seals of the Divine Gate. Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. 9 sealing doors appeared and froze the beasts in place. Chapter 1688. Haha, we found the wind core. Tian Chui laughed heartily. After one of the demonic beasts was killed, it dropped a crystal. The crystal was translucent with green energy lingering around it. This was the wind core. This wind core had a special mark. It could be seen at a glance whether it was taken out of this place or not. "Let's continue," Lu Ming said. Next, they continued to search for beasts. Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the Divine Gate to seal the beasts, while Tian Chui and Xuanixin were responsible for killing them. The wind cores were divided equally among the 3. The beasts here were not very strong except for their speed. Tian Chui and Xuanixin could easily kill them. However, the number of beasts with wind cores was very small. On average, only 1 out of 10 beasts had wind cores. This greatly increased the difficulty of obtaining wind cores. However, Lu Ming and the other 2 worked together very quickly. They did not need to waste any time when encountering beasts. Lu Ming used the seals while Tian Chui and Xuanixin dealt with the beasts in an instant. 10 minutes later, the 3 of them had already killed hundreds of demonic beasts and obtained 30 wind cores. 10 for each of them. Roar! 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 Roars came from the front. The three of them were shocked and continued to move forward. Soon, a large group of beasts appeared in front of them. Those were wind leopards. They were even faster than wind wolves. There were hundreds of wind leopards in this group. They were running on the grassland. So many of them. Haha, we're rich. Tian Chue's eyes lit up and he grinned. Roar, roar. The wind leopards also noticed Lu Ming and the other two. With a few loud roars, the wind leopards scattered. They were like hundreds of lightning bolts, flying in all directions. There were too many of them. Even if Lu Ming used the 9 seals of the Divine Gate, he could only seal a few of them. Bubble, we're counting on you. Lu Ming whispered. Bubble had already appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. At this time it waved its paw, and the space in front of it rippled like water. Then, the wind leopards all stopped in the air, motionless. Kill! Tian Chue and Xuanixin were very excited and charged at the wind leopards. As for Lu Ming, he also flew up. With a wave of his hand, spear light shot out, killing the wind leopards one by one. The wind leopards froze in midair before exploding. Pieces of sparkling and translucent wind cores appeared in the air. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of wind leopards were all killed by them, and they obtained dozens of wind cores. Ha ha ha, awesome, too awesome! Skyhammer is incomparably excited as he swings his hammer around. Xuanixin was also smiling. Hunting wind leopards like this was indeed very satisfying. The two of them glanced at the bubble on Lu Ming's shoulder and didn't say anything. They naturally wouldn't ask about Lu Ming's secret. Junior brother, let's go hunt a large group of demonic beasts. Tian Chue's eyes sparkled. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Immediately, the three of them flew into the air and specifically chose large groups of demonic beasts to hunt. Normally, the three of them wouldn't stop when they saw 1 or 2 demonic beasts. They would only stop when they saw more than 10 demonic beasts. This grassland didn't lack demonic beasts. Not long after, they encountered a group of demonic beasts. There were more than 100 of them, and their speed was astonishing. If they encountered so many demonic beasts, it would be impossible to kill all of them. They would only be able to kill a portion of them. These demonic beasts were too fast, and they fled in all directions. It was difficult to kill all of them. However, Lu Ming and the others were different. Lu Ming had Bubble, and Bubble used the space-time laws to freeze the demonic beasts, allowing them to slaughter them. Their efficiency greatly increased. Half an hour was too short, and it passed very quickly. Lu Ming and the others were flying when the space trembled. They felt their bodies tighten, and in the next moment, they returned to the place where they had just entered. The other Dragon God Valley disciples also appeared there. Time is up so quickly. I only hunted a few wind cores. Me too. Some of the Dragon God Valley disciples sighed. Those who were unlucky didn't have any wind cores after killing demonic beasts. After half an hour, they only obtained a few wind cores. Senior brother Zi Feng, how many wind cores did you get? Someone asked Zi Feng. I got 31 wind cores, Zi Feng said. He then looked at Lu Ming and said, Junior brother Lu Ming, how's your harvest? Our harvest is okay. Lu Ming nodded and said, Senior brother Zi Feng got more than 30 wind cores. It seems that we don't need too many wind cores to enter the top 80. 20 wind cores are enough. Let's distribute them. Distribute? The others looked at each other. Most of them didn't even get 20 wind cores. How are they going to distribute them? Lu Ming, Tian Chue, and Xuanixin looked at each other. Then, with a thought, a large pile of wind cores appeared in the air. The other Dragon God Valley disciples were stunned. All of them were dumbfounded. There were too many. Lu Ming and the others had a few hundred wind cores in total. That many? Zi Feng was also dumbfounded. Lu Ming smiled. The three of them got more than 280 wind cores in total. The three of us will each take 30 wind cores. The rest will be distributed to those with higher cultivation so that more of us can enter the second round. Senior brother Zifeng, you can distribute them, Lu Ming said. Then he, Tianque, and Xuaningxin each took 30 wind cores, leaving more than 190 wind cores. They didn't need many wind cores, as long as they could enter the second round. The most important thing was that more people from the Dragon God Valley could enter the second round. The more people that entered, the higher the chances of getting points in the second round. Even if they got one more point, it could be the deciding factor in the end. This time, Lu Ming must help the Dragon God Valley get first place and get the 2 ancient treasures in their hands. Only then could Lu Ming get the fragments of the prison-suppressing monument. All right. Zifeng nodded and began to distribute the wind cores. He didn't distribute the wind cores to those with lower cultivation. Instead, he distributed the wind cores to those with higher cultivation. In the end, only 5 people didn't get any wind cores. These 5 people had the lowest cultivation. Including the wind cores that he got, the others each had about 20 wind cores. Based on the number of wind cores that Zifeng got, 20 wind cores should be enough. The 5 people didn't complain. Their cultivation was the lowest, so even if they entered the second round, it would be difficult for them to get any points. All right, let's go out, Zifeng said. Then, the group went to the light door in the sky. In the next moment, they appeared above the fighting stage. At the same time, the other sects also walked out of the light door. Now, take out your wind cores. One by one, I will record the number. The 80 people who get the most wind cores will enter the second round. Returning to Tao. Let's go first. Chapter 1689. All right, take out your wind cores. Returning to Tao. Luo Shuihan waved his hand, and pieces of sparkling wind cores appeared in the sky. There were a total of 43 wind cores. 43 wind cores, not bad. Returning to Tao, someone beside him recorded the number of wind cores that Luo Shuihan had. Luo Shuihan's face was cold and arrogant. He did not believe that the others would have more wind cores than him. Following that, the other heavenly god sect disciples began to take out their wind cores. The second person had a much smaller number of wind cores, only 25 of them. However, the next 10 people each had 20 wind cores. However, when it came to the 11th person, he shook his head, indicating that he did not have any. Starting from the 11th person, the other 10 people shook their heads and retreated to the side. It seems that the heavenly god sect's wind cores have been redistributed to the 10 strongest people. Zifeng said. Lu Ming nodded. It was obvious that they were not the only ones. The other sects had also distributed their wind cores. The weaker wind cores were given to the stronger wind cores in the hope that more people would enter the second round. Indeed, most of the sects that came after had their wind cores distributed. Only the stronger ones had wind cores, while the weaker ones did not have a single one. Of course, it was impossible for every sect to have as many wind cores as the Heavenly God sect. The top 10 people each had more than 20 wind cores. Some of the top 10 people had at least 10 wind cores. One by one, the sects went up. Luo Shuihan looked at Lu Ming and the rest and sneered, "What's wrong? Why aren't the Divine Dragon Valley going up to check the wind cores? Don't you have too few wind cores?" "We have too many wind cores, and we don't want to scare you." Tianque grinned. "Too many? You're shameless," Luo Shuihan sneered. "Let's go up." At that moment, Zifeng spoke and stepped forward to returning to Tao. He waved his hand, and a pile of wind cores appeared in front of him. There was a total of 31 wind cores. Haha, only 31 wind cores. Zifeng, you're ranked last among the Tsang State geniuses, Luo Shuihan sneered. Indeed, the other monstrous geniuses who had gone up to count all had over 30 pieces. Zifeng had the least. It was not that Zifeng's wind cores were not as good as the other geniuses. It was obvious that some of the other geniuses had taken some wind cores from other disciples, which was why they had so many of them. As for Zifeng, he did not take it from anyone else in Dragon God Valley. His thoughts were the same as Lu Ming and the others. As long as there were enough people, it would be fine. Zifeng smiled faintly and ignored Luo Shuihan. Then Lu Ming stepped forward. With a wave of his hand, 30 wind cores appeared. Luo Shuihan narrowed her eyes and sneered, 30 pieces? Looks like quite a number of Dragon God Valley disciples have obtained wind cores in your hands, right? Lu Ming glanced indifferently at Luo Shuihan. His eyes were filled with ridicule and contempt, causing Luo Shuihan to feel even more displeased. Then Tian Chue and Xuaning Xin stepped forward, and each took out 30 wind cores, which shocked the others. Luo Shuihan's face became even gloomier. She said, "It seems that your Dragon God Valley has gathered all the wind cores on you guys. You actually gave so many wind cores to 2 people in the first stage of the half-saints. It's really unwise. It seems that Dragon God Valley will be at the bottom this time." The others were shocked. Dragon God Valley had gathered most of the wind cores in the hands of Lu Ming and the others. That was why they had so many wind cores. Otherwise, they would not believe that Tian Chue and Xuaning Xin, 2 first-stage half-saints, would be able to obtain 30 wind cores. "Idiots," Tian Chue said disdainfully. Luo Shuihan's eyes turned cold. Tian Chue dared to call her an idiot. "You're courting death." Luo Shuihan's eyes flashed. Then the others from Dragon God Valley stepped forward and took out their wind cores. 26 pieces, 25 pieces, 23 pieces. In the end, there were 15 people in Dragon God Valley, including Lu Ming and the others, and they took out more than 20 wind cores. Luo Shuihan was stunned, and so were the others. How is this possible?" Someone shouted in disbelief. This was especially true for the geniuses from the other sects who were participating in the competition. They knew very well how fast the demonic beasts were and how hard it was to capture them. Dragon God Valley had obtained so many wind cores. Luo Shuihan's face was flushed red. Dragon God Valley doesn't have many wind cores, but only 15 people have obtained more than 20 wind cores. There are still 5 senior brothers who have not obtained any wind cores. I'm ashamed. Tian Chue stared at Luo Shuihan and sighed. Buffed. Some of the onlookers laughed out loud, especially the people from Dragon God Valley who laughed out loud. Tian Chue was openly mocking Luo Shuihan. Some people are just shameless. Others don't want to talk to him, but he keeps asking to be slapped. Does he like the feeling of being slapped? Lu Ming said. His words were more direct and full of sarcasm. Luo Shuihan's face was incomparably gloomy as a cold light flickered continuously. His body was trembling from anger. Luo Shuihan took a deep breath to calm himself down. He snorted and said, "You're just lucky. When you enter the second round, you'll have to rely on your strength. Let's see how you'll die then." "Luo Shuihan, remember what you said." Lu Ming replied coldly. In an instant, Dragon God Valley and Heavenly God Sect were at loggerheads. Both sides retreated to the side and waited quietly. Not long after, everyone was counted and Pu Yuangue started to announce the rankings. Pu Yuangue only announced the top 80 people. Without exception, the top 15 from Dragon God Valley had entered the second round, becoming the sect with the most people in the second round. The Heavenly God Sect with the second most people only had 10 people. The sect with the least number of people only had 4 people in the second round. There were a total of 10 sects and 80 people in the second round. On average, each sect had 8 people. Dragon God Valley had 15 of them, which had greatly exceeded the average. Lu Ming was ranked 9th, second only to Zifeng. Of course, no one thought that Lu Ming's combat strength was enough to be ranked 9th and compete with the top 10 monstrous geniuses of the Tsang state. The number of wind cores didn't mean anything. Didn't they see that Tian Chue and Xuaning Xin had 30 wind cores? They were tied with Lu Ming. Many people from Dragon God Valley had 20 wind cores and were ranked in the top 10 or 20. Many people thought that Dragon God Valley must be lucky to have obtained a large number of wind cores. After the rankings were announced, everyone returned to their seats and waited for the second round to begin. Po Yuangwe looked around and started to announce the rules of the second round. As mentioned before, the second round of the competition was to take turns. Each person would have to fight with the others one by one. One victory would earn 1 point. Chapter 1690. However, there were some other rules in the process of the competition. For example, admitting defeat. Before the competition started, one could admit defeat. But once one admitted defeat, one would lose the right to participate in the following competitions and would be eliminated in advance. However, one could keep their points. For example, if one had already obtained 5 points and met an opponent he couldn't defeat, he could take the initiative to admit defeat before the battle started. This way, he could keep his 5 points, but would lose the right to participate in the following competitions. But once the battle started, one couldn't admit defeat. Once the battle started, one would either be defeated, rushed off the fighting ring, or killed. Only then would the battle end. Once the battle started, one couldn't admit defeat. However, if one rushed off the fighting ring, it would be considered a failure. Not only could one keep their current points, but they could also continue to participate in the following competitions. It was the same if one was defeated or knocked off the fighting ring. But once one was killed, one's points would be reduced to 0. In other words, no matter how many points one had, once one was killed, one would have 0 points. Therefore, the best choice was to keep one's life without admitting defeat. Moreover, the competition was different from the treasure sorting convention. It wasn't forbidden to use holy weapons, because the participants of the treasure sorting convention were all powerful. Many of them were half-saints. They could only display the power of holy weapons if they used them. But there was one very important point. The winner of the convention would receive an extra 10 points. Therefore, the first place was especially important. 10 points could often decide the winner. The Celestial God sect had won many competitions in a row. The first place played an important role. All right, the rules have been explained. Now, let's begin the second round. I'll randomly draw lots. The 2 people I draw will fight each other. When everyone has fought, the first round will end. Puyuangoe said. Then he took out a box with the names of the 80 people who had entered the second round. Puyuangoe drew 2 names. Longbing Luo Shuehan. Puyuangoe called out their names. Many people were shocked. They didn't expect Luo Shuehan to fight in the first round of the second round. Luo Shuehan stood up and stepped onto the fighting ring. In the area of Dragon God Valley, a young man stood up with an ugly expression. Long Bing was one of the 15 people in Dragon God Valley. Long Bing's expression was very bad. He did not expect that the first person he met would be Luo Shuehan. However, there were a total of 80 people, and 15 of them were from the Dragon God Valley. Long Bing, you are no match for Luo Shuehan. Go up and admit defeat. Zi Feng warned Long Bing. Long Bing nodded and jumped onto the fighting ring. Haha, looks like I'm pretty lucky. I'm going to meet someone from Divine Dragon Valley in the first round. Luo Shuehan laughed as a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Now let the battle begin. Breaking Origin returns announced. Admit defeat. Luo Shuehan said indifferently. A look of struggle flashed in Long Bing's eyes. If he admitted defeat just like this, then his progress in the treasure auction would stop here, and he wouldn't be able to obtain a single point. In the second round, the Dragon God Valley would give out a large amount of contribution points for every point obtained. It was the same for the other sections. He was unwilling to admit defeat, just like that. Bang! Long Bing took a heavy step and rushed to the edge of the fighting ring. As long as he rushed down from the fighting ring, he would be considered to have lost this round. However, he could still continue to compete in the following rounds. He had the cultivation of the first stage of the half-sage realm, so it was still possible for him to obtain points in the following rounds. Oh no! Seeing that Long Bing didn't admit defeat and wanted to rush down from the fighting ring, Zifeng and the others were shocked. If he didn't admit defeat, then he would lose the chance to admit defeat. Haha, since you don't admit defeat, then I'll send you on your way. Luo Shuihan was overjoyed. His body was bathed in holy light. He moved like a ray of holy light and rushed toward Long Bing. In an instant, he caught up with Long Bing. With a wave of his hand, a holy light palm print blasted toward Long Bing. Long Bing's face turned pale. He moved and changed his direction, rushing to the other side. You can escape. A cold light flashed in Luo Shuihan's eyes. He condensed a spear of divine punishment in his hand and shot it at lightning speed. Puchi! The spear of divine punishment directly pierced through one of Long Bing's legs. Long Bing's leg exploded. He screamed and fell to the ground with a look of despair on his face. Luo Shuihan took a step forward and appeared in front of Long Bing. His eyes were cold as he said, You don't admit defeat when facing me. Only death awaits you. With a wave of his hand, a ray of holy light slashed and cut off one of Long Bing's arms. Blood splattered everywhere. Ah, Luo Shuihan, kill me if you want. Don't humiliate me. Long Bing roared. Bang! Luo Shuihan stepped on Long Bing's face and said coldly, Do I need you to teach me whether I want to kill you or not? You people from the Dragon God Valley are all audacious. How dare you offend me? You all deserve to die. Puchi! Another ray of holy light slashed and cut off Long Bing's other arm. Damn it, Luo Shuihan, do it if you want to. Zifeng roared like a violent dragon. The other people from the Dragon God Valley were also furious. The killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes grew colder. Luo Shuihan did it on purpose. He could have killed Long Bing in one move, but he tortured him like this to take revenge on the Dragon God Valley and Lu Ming. Haha, if you want to blame someone, blame Lu Ming. He doesn't know what's good for him. Luo Shuihan laughed and stomped on the ground. Long Bing exploded. Luo Shuihan looked at Lu Ming and smiled. So what if the Dragon God Valley has a lot of people in the second round? No matter how many people there are, I'll just kill them all. Luo Shuihan, you'd better admit defeat when you meet me. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. Lu Ming spoke, his voice as cold as a knife. He had to kill Luo Shuihan. You want to kill me? I'll wait for you, Luo Shuihan said coldly. Then he jumped off the fighting ring. The first round of the competition ended just like that. Junior brothers and sisters, if you meet someone whose cultivation is too far apart, just admit defeat. Don't take any chances. Zifeng sent a voice transmission to the other participants of the Dragon God Valley. Everyone nodded. If the difference in cultivation was too great, they couldn't even rush off the fighting ring. The second round, Zifeng versus Luda. The voice of Origin Returner was heard. It's my turn in the second round. Zifeng got up and stepped onto the fighting ring. I'm really unlucky. A young man stood up in the Heavenly King's Hall's area. He was indeed unlucky to meet one of the top 10 monsters in the first round. Junior brother, just admit defeat, the monster from the Heavenly King's Hall urged. Lu stepped onto the fighting ring. When Origin Returner announced the start of the round, Lu admitted defeat. Admitting defeat meant that he was eliminated in advance. He wouldn't be able to participate in the next round. In this way, there were only 78 people left. In theory, all 80 people would have to fight, and in the end, everyone would have to fight 80 rounds. In reality, it was impossible to fight that many rounds. Chapter 1691. Lu admitted defeat. Zifeng received 1 point and returned to the spectator stand. Next, Yuan Pague continued to draw lots, and the competition continued. In the third round, The two geniuses' cultivations were about the same. One of them was a stage 2 half-saint, while the other was a stage 1 half-saint. In fact, those who could enter the second round were all stage 1 half-saints. Many of them had superior earth spiritual bodies, and a few of them were medium earth spiritual bodies. They were the top geniuses of the top 10 sects in the Tsang Prefecture. Each one of them was very strong. In this round, the stage 1 half-saint tried his best to get off the fighting ring. The difference of one level made it impossible for the stage 1 half-saint to win. In the end, the stage 1 half-saint paid a small price and got off the fighting ring. This way, he could at least continue to compete. The matches were carried out one after another. Soon, more than 30 matches had been carried out. Some people admitted defeat, while others were killed. Those who met one of the top 10 geniuses all admitted defeat. The difference was too big. They could only admit that they were unlucky. In the Dragon God Valley, there were also a few people who admitted defeat. However, Tian Chue and Xuanixin were lucky. Their opponents were stage 1 half-saints, just like them. There was no doubt that Tian Chue and Xuanixin were very powerful at the same level, so they both defeated their opponents and got 1 point. Lu Ming paid attention to Luo Xiang from the Life and Death Sword sect. Luo Xiang, who had competed with him in the Tsang Emperor Mystery Realm, had become very powerful, stage 2 half-saint, and his spiritual body had become a superior earth spiritual body. He nurtured his sword soul for 15 years, and now his sword soul is feeding back to his spiritual body. What a terrifying cultivation method! Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. Lu Ming's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds in the 100-tribe battlefield. However, Luo Xiang's cultivation speed was not inferior to his. It was really shocking. Moreover, Luo Xiang's combat strength was unfathomable. A stage 1 half-saint from the Desire Poison sect wanted to get off the fighting ring, but a sword light flashed and he was killed. This person is very strong. Even Zi Feng furrowed his brows, revealing a solemn expression. Lu Ming against Hu Xiao. At this moment, the sound of returning origin breaking rang out. It was Lu Ming's turn. Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward, appearing on the battle stage. Lu Ming's opponent was a young genius from the Demon Castle, who was in the first stage of the half-saint realm. Roar! Hu Xiao roared and transformed into his true form, which was a gigantic, demonic tiger. His eyes were filled with savagery as he said, "Lu Ming, although your battle prowess is not bad, I'm not afraid of you. Let's fight." When Lu Ming was outside the treasure pavilion, he had slaughtered many second-stage half-saints with ease. However, those people's spiritual bodies were not of a high level. Hu Xiao, on the other hand, had a superior earthly spiritual body. When the referee announced the start of the match, Hu Xiao roared and pounced at Lu Ming. His claws were as sharp as blades as he clawed at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was faster. In a flash, he appeared in front of Hu Xiao and punched him in the jaw. Hu Xiao's huge body was sent flying. He rolled a few times on the battle stage before he could get up. After getting up, Hu Xiao did not dare to continue fighting. He ran away and rushed down the battle stage. Lu Ming stood there and did not stop him. He watched as Hu Xiao rushed down the battle stage. The Demon Castle and Dragon God Valley had a good relationship. Lu Ming did not need to kill Hu Xiao. Moreover, Lu Ming could not show too much of his battle prowess. Otherwise, how could he lure the people of the Celestial Sect? Humph! It seems that Lu Ming's battle prowess is only average. His speed is a little faster, but his attack power is not too strong. He only injured Hu Xiao, but did not kill him. That's normal. Demonic beasts have strong defense. Lu Ming's cultivation is not that high either. Sure enough, people were discussing. Lu Ming smiled and returned to the spectator stand. He had scored 1 point. The matches continued. Soon, all 80 people and 40 matches were over. After the end of this round of competition, only 60 out of 80 people could continue to participate in the next round of competition. The other 20 people were either killed or admitted defeat. In fact, there were 9 of the top 10 geniuses of Tsangzhou participating in the treasure pedestal meeting. The last one was from one of the 3 sects that had been eliminated. 9 geniuses were enough to make 9 people admit defeat. There were others who admitted defeat or were killed. After one round, there were only 60 people left. The number of people left would be even lower in the later rounds. In this round, 1 person from the Dragon God Valley was killed and 3 people admitted defeat. There were 11 people left. Out of these 11 people, 8 of them were defeated. They had scored 8 points. This score ranked them first among the top 10 sects for the time being. The Heavenly God sect was in second place with 6 points. They're only in the lead for now. Let's see where they'll rank when we kill those with points later. Luo Shuihan said coldly in the Heavenly God sect area. Next, Puyuangue put the names of the remaining 60 people into a box and started drawing lots again for the second round of matches. Lu Ming, Shiryu, Puyuangue announced the names. I didn't expect to be in the first round of the second round. Lu Ming smiled and stepped onto the fighting ring. At the same time, a young man jumped onto the fighting ring from the Heavenly God sect area. It's a disciple of the Heavenly God sect. Finally, a cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. You're not admitting defeat? Lu Ming asked. Why should I admit defeat to you? Do you think you can kill me? The Heavenly God sect's genius, Shiryu, sneered. Lu Ming smiled and didn't say anything. Begin, Puyuangue announced. When Puyuangue's voice fell, Shiryu moved and rushed to the edge of the fighting ring. He knew that he was no match for Lu Ming, but he had no problem rushing down the fighting ring. He had already obtained 1 point and didn't want to waste it. There was a hint of a smile at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. He moved and neared Shiryu in an instant. The black dragon spear appeared in his hands. It expanded rapidly and swept toward Shiryu. Shiryu was shocked. He didn't expect Lu Ming to be so fast. A milky white battle sword appeared in his hand. It was undoubtedly a holy weapon. He slashed at Lu Ming. Clang! The battle sword and the black dragon spear collided. Shiryu's body shook and slid back more than 10 meters. Lu Ming's body also shook. Lu Ming, your combat strength is only SOSO. Fight! Shiryu saw that Lu Ming only pushed him back more than 10 meters, and Lu Ming's body also shook. Shiryu's confidence was boosted. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He held the black dragon spear in his hand and started a battle with Shiryu. Of course, this was a battle that Lu Ming had deliberately created. He still had to bait later on. If he suddenly revealed too much of his combat power and killed his opponent, the other members of the Celestial Divine Sect would not dare to fight Lu Ming and would simply admit defeat. Therefore, Lu Ming had to perform well. He exchanged more than 10 moves with Shiryu before his spear pierced through Shiryu's dantian and killed him. The Heavenly God Sect's genius is only SOSO. Chapter 1692. Damn it! Luo Shuihan's face was gloomy. The Divine Sun, on the other hand, was expressionless. Well done, junior brother. After Lu Ming returned to the spectator stand, Tian Chui laughed. After that, the competition continued. Compared to the first round, this round was much more intense. Many people had gained points, so naturally they wouldn't give up easily. Unless they encountered the top 10 geniuses, they would admit defeat if the difference was too great. Round after round. Without a doubt, the top 10 geniuses didn't even need to make a move before their opponents admitted defeat. In this round, Xuaningxin was unlucky to encounter one of the top 10 geniuses, Wang Jian, so she had no choice but to admit defeat. As for Tian Chui, he was lucky enough to encounter another person of the same level. He defeated his opponent and gained 2 points. When the second round of 30 matches ended, another 16 people were eliminated. Only 44 people could continue to participate in the competition. Dragon God Valley still had 7 people, and they were still in first place. Then the third round began. In this round, Lu Ming was unsure if his luck was good or bad. He actually encountered another first-stage half-saint, who didn't admit defeat. As soon as the competition began, he rushed to the edge of the fighting ring. Lu Ming didn't chase after him and allowed him to rush down the fighting ring. In this way, Lu Ming easily gained 3 points. Zifeng, of course, also won. He also gained 3 points. However, Tian Chui's luck came to an end. In this round, he also encountered one of the top 10 geniuses, and it was Mo Yang. Tian Chui admitted defeat, which made Mo Yang snort coldly. Tian Chui had mocked Mo Yang many times. If Tian Chui didn't admit defeat, Mo Yang would definitely kill him. After the third round of the competition ended, there were only 30 people left. As the competition progressed, the number of people would get smaller and smaller. Therefore, in theory, there were 80 people in the beginning. In reality, there was no need to fight so many battles. In the fourth round, there were only 30 people fighting. The cultivation of these 30 people could be said to be very strong. At this point, the first stage half-saints had all been eliminated. The rest were second-stage half-saints. Of course, the others didn't know Lu Ming's specific cultivation because Lu Ming had been hiding it with his illusory breath. Piyuan Gui continued to draw lots. This round of battles was undoubtedly even more intense. Many people had similar cultivation levels, so they naturally wouldn't admit defeat so easily. The battle was incomparably intense. Perhaps it was due to luck, but the top 10 geniuses still did not encounter each other in this round. Instead, they defeated their opponents separately. Lu Ming met a second-stage semi-sage opponent in this round. His opponent naturally wouldn't admit defeat. So, he fought a fierce battle with Lu Ming, and Lu Ming deliberately entangled with his opponent for dozens of moves. Then he finally knocked his opponent out of the battle arena. After this round, there were still 26 people left. Dragon God Valley was still in the lead. That Lu Ming won't be arrogant for long. Someone from the Heavenly Divinity sect said unhappily. Then the 5th round, the 6th round, slowly the number of people dwindled. After the 8th round, there were only 18 people left. Lu Ming's luck was surprisingly good. He didn't encounter any of the top 10 evildoers. He won all the way and obtained 8 points. As for the top 10 monsters, they did not encounter each other either. At this time, the 9th round began. Wang Jian, Mo Yang. At this time, Yuan Gui's voice was heard, which shocked many people. Are the top 10 monsters finally going to collide? Here comes the highlight. Now, there were only 18 people left, including 9 of the top 10 monsters. They were definitely going to encounter each other. Next was the real exciting part of the treasure sorting convention. Previously, the top 10 monsters had defeated everyone else, and each of them had obtained 8 points. But now, some people's points would stop increasing, while others would continue to increase. The total points of the top 10 sects would be pulled apart. Wang Jian and Mo Yang stepped into the battle arena and looked at each other. Mo Yang, you were no match for me 3 years ago. This time, you are no match for me either. Wang Jian said. Sword Qi surged from his body. Wang Jian was a peerless monster from the 9 Heaven Sword sect. He had strong combat strength and unparalleled swordsmanship. 3 years ago, before Luo Shuihan's rise, Wang Jian was ranked 2nd among the top 10 evildoers. He was competing with the Divine Sun. Unfortunately, he was not only defeated by the Divine Sun, but also by Luo Shuihan, dropping to 3rd place. How will we know if we don't fight? I must defeat you in this battle. Mo Yang said. Demonic qi surged from his body, making him look like a demon god. When the referee announced the start of the battle, the 2 men moved at the same time. Sword shakes the 9 heavens. Demonic roars to the world. The 2 men were old rivals. As soon as they attacked, they burst out with all their strength. There was no need to test each other. In the fierce confrontation, the Dharma permeated the battle arena. Roars continued to sound as terrifying collisions occurred. In the surroundings, everyone was watching without blinking. Many people were shocked and exclaimed repeatedly, marveling at the battle prowess of the 2. However, after watching for a while, Lu Ming lost interest. He had seen this kind of combat strength many times in the 100-clan battlefield, so he was not interested. Mo Yang and Wang Jian exchanged hundreds of blows. In the end, Wang Jian gained the upper hand and defeated Mo Yang, continuing to win. Of course, Mo Yang was defeated, so he could continue to fight. Mo Yang's face was cold as he returned to the spectator stand. The battle continued. Next, after 2 more battles, another heavyweight battle was ushered in. It was another battle between the top 10 monsters. Zifeng was fighting against the Heavenly King Hall's monster, Wang Kong. This battle could be said to be evenly matched. The 2 men exchanged hundreds of blows, and in the end, Zifeng won by a slight margin and won. Lu Ming, Lu Yuan. The voice of breaking Yuan returns rang out. Lu Yuan, from the Celestial God sect. Lu Ming finally came to his senses. He took a step forward and appeared on the battle arena. Finally, he met another genius from the Celestial God sect. Lu Yuan stepped onto the battle arena and stood opposite Lu Ming. Lu Ming, it seems that there is no need for senior brother Luo Shuihan to make a move. You will die at my hands. Lu Yuan's eyes were cold, and his whole body emitted a cold metallic luster. His aura was extremely powerful. Lu Yuan's combat strength was very strong. He also had a superior earth spiritual body, and his cultivation had reached the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm. In the Zhangzhou, he was second only to the top 10 monsters. In fact, of the remaining 18 people, 9 were monsters, while the other 9 were second only to the top 10 monsters. Each of them was a top genius, and they were all eyeing the top 10 monsters. You talk too much nonsense. Lu Ming said faintly, Kill. After the referee announced the start of the battle, Lu Yuan roared and rushed toward Lu Ming. The metallic luster on his body became even more intense, and his whole person seemed to have turned into a piece of metal. What he cultivated was not the core cultivation method of the Celestial God sect, the Sacred Light technique. It was only because his spiritual body did not match, but it was still very terrifying. Boom! Lu Ming threw out a punch and collided with Lu Yuan's. Clang! Chapter 1693. Not bad. You can take one of my punches. Come again. Lu Yuan roared and took a step forward. His body was like a metal mountain as he charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming poured his true essence into the flowing essence gloves as he exchanged blows with Lu Yuan. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Lu Ming is so strong. He can actually fight Lu Yuan. It's indeed amazing. Could it be that Lu Ming has been holding back? Look, Lu Ming's aura is completely exposed. He's in the 2nd stage of the half-step saint realm. It's really the 2nd stage of the half-step saint realm. It's amazing that a 2nd stage half-step saint has such strong combat strength. Many people exclaimed in surprise. Previously, Lu Ming was able to defeat a 2nd stage half-step saint genius. That was because Lu Ming had used dozens of blows to defeat his opponent. But now, Lu Ming could actually fight Lu Yuan. Everyone was shocked. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, the 2 had exchanged dozens of blows. Damn it! Lu Yuan roared in his heart. He couldn't take down Lu Ming and began to feel anxious. It's about time. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Then he formed a seal with both hands. 6 doors of sealing appeared and sealed Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's movements suddenly stiffened. Not good. Lu Yuan turned pale with fright. Kill. Lu Ming took out the black dragon spear and stabbed at Lu Yuan's dantian. Puchi. The black dragon spear pierced Lu Yuan's dantian. Lu Yuan let out an unwilling roar and died. Lu Yuan is dead. Many people were shocked. What a powerful sealing technique. It turns out that Lu Ming is good at sealing techniques. I know now. He has been hiding it and deliberately fought Lu Yuan. Then he suddenly used the Book of Seals to freeze Lu Yuan, who was caught off guard. Then he killed Lu Yuan in one fell swoop. Indeed, this is Lu Ming's tactic. Lu Yuan was too careless. Many people were discussing, thinking that Lu Ming died because of his own carelessness. In the stands, Luo Shuihan's gaze was as cold as a knife. Lu Ming had actually killed Lu Yuan. This way, the Heavenly Divinity sect would be at a disadvantage. Once Lu Yuan died, his points would return to 0. That would be extremely disadvantageous to the Heavenly Divinity sect's total points. Originally, the Heavenly God sect had a great advantage among the remaining 18 people. Because of the remaining 18 people, 3 of them were from the Heavenly God sect. In addition to Luo Shuihan, there was another genius who was similar to Lu Yuan. Moreover, a genius like Lu Yuan would not be killed even when facing the top 10 monstrous geniuses. If he wanted to rush down the battle platform, the top 10 monstrous geniuses would not be able to kill him. If this continued, the Celestial God sect's points would soon surpass the Dragon God Valley's. At that time, as long as he killed Lu Ming, even if he didn't kill Lu Ming, as long as he obtained first place, the Celestial God sect would be able to secure first place. But who would have thought that Lu Yuan would be killed by Lu Ming due to his carelessness? Now the Heavenly Divinity sect was a little mysterious. Lu Ming must die. Luo Shuihan thought to himself, Luo Shuihan, it's your turn next. I will send you to accompany Lu Yuan. Lu Ming pulled out his bloodied spear and pointed it at Luo Shuihan, then returned to the spectator stand. Then the battle continued. The next battle piqued the crowd's interest again. Luo Xiang against a monstrous genius. Luo Xiang had previously displayed terrifying combat strength. Once he used the life and death sword art, no one could defeat him. It was amazing that he had reached this stage as a stage 2 half-saint. Now, how would he perform when facing one of the top 10 monstrous geniuses? But when the battle began, everyone's jaws dropped. The sword radiance swept across, completely suppressing the monstrous genius. In just a dozen moves, the monstrous genius was in danger and almost had his throat slit. In the end, he used all his strength to rush down the battle platform in an injured state. This made everyone dumbfounded. They could not believe it. A stage 2 half-saint had defeated one of the top 10 monstrous geniuses. This kind of combat strength was really shocking. He's so powerful. I'm no match for him. Zi Feng said with a bitter expression. The other monstrous geniuses looked solemn as they watched Luo Xiang's proud figure in the battle platform. How could the life and death sword faction have such a person? Luo Shuihan's expression was the worst among the crowd. If Luo Xiang was so powerful now, he would be no match for him after he broke through the bottleneck of the law. Wouldn't the top monstrous genius in the Tsang prefecture change in the future? No, I have to find a chance to get rid of Luo Xiang in the future. Luo Shuihan's eyes flashed with coldness. He could not let others take away his throne as the top monstrous genius in the Tsang prefecture. Luo Xiang's sword art is sometimes fast and sometimes slow. It's unpredictable. Could it be the legendary law of speed? Lu Ming's eyes showed that he was pondering. Lu Ming had obtained part of the 9 dragons' memory fragments, so his knowledge was naturally far above the others. He could tell that the law Luo Xiang comprehended was most likely the law of speed. In the world, the top 10 supreme laws were undoubtedly the strongest. However, below the 10 supreme laws, there were still some laws that were extremely terrifying, far surpassing ordinary laws. The law of speed was at this level, second only to the 10 supreme laws. After Luo Xiang, it was Luo Shuihan's turn to fight with another genius. That genius was second only to the top 10 monstrous geniuses, but he was completely powerless against Luo Shuihan. He was suppressed by Luo Shuihan, and in the end he was killed by Luo Shuihan before he could even escape from the battle platform. After killing his opponent, Luo Shuihan looked coldly at Lu Ming, full of provocation. Lu Ming had merely killed Lu Yuan due to Lu Yuan's carelessness. However, Lu Ming had completely suppressed and killed his opponent with his terrifying abilities. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not bother with Luo Shuihan. Junior Lu Ming, Luo Shuihan's combat strength is even more terrifying than it was 3 years ago. If you are not confident in winning against him, just admit defeat. Zifeng sighed. Luo Shuihan's combat strength was too terrifying. Even he could only survive against Luo Shuihan. There was no chance of winning at all. My master won't lose. If that Luo Shuihan meets my master, he'll definitely be beaten until he pisses his pants. Xiang Xiang was unhappy and pouted at Lu Ming. In Xiang Xiang's eyes, Lu Ming was the strongest. How could he lose to others? Okay, your master is the strongest. Zifeng smiled bitterly. Humph, of course. Only then did the little girl smile. This little girl. Lu Ming patted Xiang Xiang's little head dotingly. The following battles were extremely intense. The remaining geniuses of the Tsang state naturally did not admit defeat. The battles were extremely intense. After the end of this round, there were 16 people left. The Divine Dragon Valley was still in the lead. A new round had begun. The first battle was between Zifeng and Wang Jian. In fact, at this stage, the method of drawing lots was no longer used, because some people had already fought. If they drew lots and drew the same 2 people again, wouldn't they have to fight again? There was no need for that. Next, it was completely up to Piyuan to rank himself. Zifeng tried his best, but unfortunately, he was defeated by Wang Jian. Lu Ming, Luo Shuihan. Chapter 1694. Lu Ming, Luo Shuihan. Many people's eyes lit up when they heard these 2 names. Lu Ming had finally met Luo Shuihan. Many people were guessing whether Lu Ming would admit defeat. After all, if he didn't, Luo Shuihan would not let Lu Ming go. Is it finally time? It's earlier than I expected. Well, I don't have to hide my strength anymore after I've dealt with Luo Shuihan. Lu Ming smiled. He had been hiding his strength because he was waiting for Luo Shuihan. Otherwise, Lu Ming could kill these so-called geniuses with 1 punch. It wouldn't take much effort for him to do so. However, Luo Shuihan wouldn't dare to fight with him and would admit defeat immediately. Ha ha ha, I've finally met Lu Ming. Luo Shuihan was overjoyed. Senior brother Luo, you must kill Lu Ming and avenge senior brother Lu Yuan. In my opinion, there's no hope. Lu Ming must be scared shitless when he meets senior brother Luo. He won't have the courage to fight and will admit defeat immediately. You're right. After all, it's better to be a coward than to be killed. The disciples of the celestial sect spoke one after another. Their voices were loud and could be heard everywhere. Junior brother, don't fall for their provocation. Zifeng's expression changed. The people of the celestial sect were obviously saying this for Lu Ming to hear. They were afraid that Lu Ming would admit defeat immediately. Don't worry, senior brother. Lu Ming smiled and stepped out onto the fighting ring. At the same time, Luo Shuihan also landed on the fighting ring. Lu Ming, you'd better admit defeat. If you don't, you'll die. Luo Shuihan said coldly. His eyes were full of disdain. Luo Shuihan, you don't have to use such a despicable method to provoke me. However, as you wish, I won't surrender. Lu Ming said indifferently. Is that so? Luo Shuihan's eyes flashed with joy. The others were also shocked. Lu Ming didn't surrender. Was he going to fight with Luo Shuihan? Would he be able to survive Luo Shuihan's attack? Some of the people from Dragon God Valley looked worried. Lu Ming, I believe that this is not all you have. Within the territory of the Life and Death Sword faction, Luo Xiang carried a long sword on his back. His entire being was like an incomparably sharp sword as he stood there, muttering under his breath. Begin. At this moment, Origin Restoration's voice rang out. Kill. As soon as Pe Yuangue finished speaking, Luo Shuihan shouted loudly. Holy light burst forth, and a holy spear appeared in his hand. He leaped high into the air and stabbed down at Lu Ming. The spear pierced through the air at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, it arrived in front of Lu Ming and stabbed towards Lu Ming's heart. Luo Shuihan wouldn't stab Lu Ming's Dantian right from the start. Once the Dantian was stabbed, the soul deity would collapse and Lu Ming would die. Luo Shuihan wouldn't kill Lu Ming so easily. He wanted Lu Ming to suffer and let Lu Ming die in despair. Only then could he vent his hatred. Seeing that the spear was about to pierce Lu Ming's heart, many people's hearts were in their mouths. Why wasn't Lu Ming dodging? Could it be that Luo Shuihan was too fast and powerful and had locked onto Lu Ming, making it difficult for Lu Ming to dodge? Such a thought appeared in many people's minds. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. He stretched out a hand and grabbed the tip of the spear. Many people didn't even see how Lu Ming did it. Then Luo Shuihan's spear stopped in the air, only a millimeter away from Lu Ming's chest. However, this millimeter couldn't pierce through. Kill! Luo Shuihan shouted. Holy light erupted and the precepts flowed. He gathered all the strength in his body and poured it into the spear. The spear glowed and stabbed towards Lu Ming. However, it didn't move. The spear didn't move. Lu Ming's hand was like the hand of a god. It was as immovable as a mountain. How is this possible? How is this possible? Luo Shuihan's eyes almost popped out. He roared in his heart. It was simply unbelievable. He thought he was dreaming. He attacked with all the strength in his body, but it was caught by Lu Ming with one hand. He couldn't move at all. At this time, the others present were also dumbfounded. What was Luo Shuihan doing? Why was he frozen there? Is this all you've got? How disappointing. Lu Ming stared into Luo Shuihan's eyes and said indifferently. Looking into Lu Ming's eyes, Luo Shuihan's heart trembled. A chill spread throughout his body. At this moment, he knew that Lu Ming had been hiding his strength. Lu Ming's true strength was simply abnormal. He was no match for him. Retreat, retreat, retreat. At this time, there was only one word in Luo Shuihan's heart. However, it was too late. Buzz! The spear in his hand let out a buzzing sound. A terrifying force flowed from Lu Ming's hand through the spear and into his body. His body shook violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Whoosh! Lu Ming held Luo Shuihan's spear and turned it around. He took a step forward and caught up with Luo Shuihan. The spear pierced through Luo Shuihan's heart and nailed him to the fighting ring. Ah! Luo Shuihan screamed. His body twisted violently and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Although the heart was a vital point with Luo Shuihan's spiritual body, he wouldn't die in a short time. As long as he was treated properly, he would recover quickly. At this moment, the whole place was silent. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the scene in disbelief. Luo Shuihan was nailed to the fighting ring by his own spear. How could this be? Luo Shuihan was powerless in Lu Ming's hands. He was as weak as a baby. Luo Shuihan was the #1 demon in Sangzhou. Although it referred to the #1 demon below the Saint Realm, it was still shocking enough. However, he was nothing in the hands of Lu Ming. At this moment, they all knew that Lu Ming must have been hiding his strength. He was waiting for Luo Shuihan. He deliberately hid his strength to wait for Luo Shuihan. This thought appeared in many people's minds. It was ridiculous that the people of the Celestial Sect and Luo Shuihan had tried to provoke Lu Ming into not admitting defeat. It was too ridiculous. It was probably what Lu Ming wanted. Boom! 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 At this moment, figures in the Celestial Sect's stands suddenly stood up. Their bodies emitted a shocking aura. They were all Saint Realm experts. They were shocked and couldn't calm down. Luo Shuihan was defeated? At that moment, the divine child's expression finally changed. His eyes were filled with holy light, revealing his sharpness. Lu Ming, let go of me. Luo Shuihan roared. Let go of you? Ridiculous. Lu Ming's true ether condensed into a blade. With a slash, one of Luo Shuihan's arms flew out. Luo Shuihan let out a shrill cry. You treated the disciples of the divine Dragon Valley like this before. Now I'll return it to you. Lu Ming spoke coldly. His primordial energy was like a saber slashing down again. Blood splattered everywhere. Luo Shuihan's other arm flew out. No, Lu Ming, don't kill me. Spare me. Chapter 1695. Luo Shuihan screamed and begged for mercy. Before this, not even in his wildest dreams would he have thought that this would be the outcome. 3 years ago, Lu Ming was only a 4th-level martial royal realm cultivator. How could he be so powerful now? Even he, the top genius of Cangzhou, could not fight back. Luo Shuihan could not figure it out, but he just wanted to live. In the past, when he killed others, he looked down on them like ants. Now that it was his turn, Luo Shuihan realized how terrifying he was. Spare you? Is that possible? Don't you think it's funny? Lu Ming spoke nonchalantly, his tone full of disdain. Elder, save me, save me. Luo Shuihan screamed and begged the elders of the Celestial God Sect for help. Lu Ming, you'd better let him go. An old man from the Heavenly God Sect spoke. The aura that this old man exuded was extremely shocking. A vast saint aura spread out continuously, filling the area with an oppressive pressure. He was definitely a terrifying expert. He was far more powerful than an ordinary bright saint. He was a supreme saint. Haha, what a joke. You've lost the treasure sorting meeting, and now you're threatening me. How shameless of a supreme saint. Purple Dragon Valley's Valley Master stood up and exuded a terrifying aura. He faced the supreme saint of the Celestial God Sect, and the atmosphere became even more oppressive. The supreme saint of the Celestial God Sect looked gloomy. He knew that he had gone overboard by interfering as a supreme saint. However, Luo Shuihan was very talented. He was second only to the Divine Sun. If he didn't die, he would definitely become a saint in the future. It was even possible for him to become a supreme saint. He might even be able to become an absolute saint. How many supreme saints did the Celestial God Sect have in all these years? There were not many supreme saints in Cangzhou. They had accumulated over the years. It would be a great loss for them to be killed by Lu Ming. Buzz! The black dragon's spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The spear light was shocking. Luo Shuihan, I'll send you to hell. Lu Ming said coldly. Luo Shuihan was scared out of his wits. He struggled and screamed. Lu Ming, you better think twice. The great saint of the Heavenly God Sect said coldly, Reconsider? I only need to think once before I kill someone. Why would I need to think thrice? Lu Ming responded. The black dragon spear pierced through Luo Shuihan's dantian and destroyed his spiritual deity. Luo Shuihan let out a roar of unwillingness. His eyes were as wide as a dead fish's. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that his life would end like this, that he would be killed by Lu Ming in this place. Senior brother deity, avenge me! With a final roar, Luo Shuihan's life was extinguished. Luo Shuihan was dead. The great sages of the Celestial Divinity Sect, as well as the other sage realm experts, burst forth with shocking auras. They looked coldly at Lu Ming, but in the end, they retracted their auras and sat down. This was the treasure ranking convention, and all the sects were present. If they broke the rules, they would be suppressed by the other sections. Luo Shuihan is dead. Many people murmured, still finding it hard to believe. Even the other geniuses felt the same way. They were somewhat stunned. The number one genius of the Tsangzhou state, the mountain that suppressed all the geniuses of the Tsangzhou state, was an insurmountable mountain. Yet he was killed by Lu Ming so easily, which made them feel unreal. How could this be? How could this be? Mo Yang muttered to himself, as if he had been struck dumb. If Luo Shuihan was killed just like that, then what about him? How would he fare against Lu Ming? Thinking of this, he shuddered. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? I knew it. You were hiding your strength. But it was still beyond my expectations. Luo Xiang whispered, his eyes bursting with astonishing fighting spirit. However, in the next moment, his fighting spirit was completely retracted. Master is the most powerful. I knew Master was the most powerful. In the Dragon God Valley area, Lu Xiang exclaimed. She didn't seem to be surprised at all. In her heart, all of this was a matter of course. Well, my eyesight is not as good as a little girl's. Zifeng smiled bitterly. Ha ha ha, senior brother Zifeng. That's because you don't know Lu Ming. When you get to know him for a long time, you won't be surprised at what he does. Tian Chui laughed loudly. Tian Chui, Xuaningxin, Long Yuanshan, and the others all knew what was going on. Previously, Lu Ming had said that he had a 50% chance of killing the divine child. Hence, it was natural that he would be able to kill Luo Shuihan easily. In the fighting ring, Lu Ming put away Luo Shuihan's storage ring and sacred weapon spear. These were his spoils of war, so he naturally wouldn't be polite. Then, with a shake of his spear, Luo Shuihan's body flew out of the fighting ring. Whoosh! Everyone was shocked when the black dragon's spear pointed at the divine child. This was because the direction Lu Ming was pointing at was the divine child. Divine child, just you wait. You're next. Lu Ming pointed his spear at the divine child, his killing intent cold. I will send you down to accompany Luo Shuihan. The divine child said, as his eyes opened and closed. A terrifying sacred light flashed. All around, everyone was suddenly filled with anticipation. They were looking forward to the battle between Lu Ming and the divine child. Previously, most people thought that Lu Ming wasn't qualified to fight with the divine child at all. Perhaps he would be killed by the celestial god sect at the treasure sorting convention. Even if he was lucky enough to pass the treasure sorting convention, he wouldn't stand a chance against the divine child. But now, they were suddenly filled with strong anticipation. Lu Ming had killed Luo Shuihan with a flip of his hand. He was simply unfathomable. Who knew if Lu Ming was hiding his strength? Perhaps he could really fight with the divine child? Buzz! In Lu Ming's hand, the black dragon spear shook, and the blood on it was shaken off. Then he put away the black dragon spear and returned to the spectator stand. Now let the battle continue. Yuan Gui announced. The competition continued, but the rest of the competition was already dull and boring. Those who were watching didn't have the mood. They were all looking forward to the battle between Lu Ming and the divine child. Those who were fighting also didn't have the mood. With Lu Ming around, did they still have any hope of fighting for first place? With Lu Ming's combat strength, he could easily defeat them. Moreover, there was also Zifeng from the Dragon God Valley. Due to the fact that they had more people, they had been leading in points. So, how could the other sects compete? There was no longer any hope, so their battle was just a formality. Soon, the round ended, and the next round began. Lu Ming and Mo Yang. Yuan Gui's voice rang out, and Mo Yang's face suddenly turned pale. Lu Ming and Mo Yang stepped onto the fighting ring and stood opposite each other. Mo Yang, you said that you would kill me. Wait a minute, you won't just admit defeat, right? I don't think you're that cowardly, right? Lu Ming said, You. Mo Yang gritted his teeth, and his face turned pale. Initially, he had intended to admit defeat. However, after hearing Lu Ming's words, if he admitted defeat, he would be admitting that he was a coward. Lu Ming was deliberately putting him on the spot. Begin. At this moment, Piyuan Gui announced. Bang! Lu Ming stepped out, and the fighting ring roared. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Chapter 1696. As soon as the unification of shattered energy was announced, Mo Yang immediately admitted defeat. He didn't dare to delay at all, as he was afraid that he would be instantly killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming stopped in his tracks and said disdainfully, You really have no guts. You were all high and mighty before, saying that you were going to kill me. Where did that go? Mo Yang's face was red, and he wanted to find a hole to crawl into. He lowered his head and returned to the spectators' stand without replying. Now, the more he spoke, the more he would humiliate himself. He hated Lu Ming, but he didn't have the courage to fight Lu Ming to the death. Ninth junior brother, this result is within my expectations. He's just a coward who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Tian Chui said, That's right. The words of this kind of person are like farts to him. Xuaningxin added, Burp. Mo Yang clenched his teeth so hard that they almost broke. Lu Ming, I'll let you be arrogant for a while. You'll still die at the hands of the divine child later. I'll tolerate you for now, but in the future, I'll kill all of these people from Dragon God Valley. Mo Yang roared in his heart. The competition continued. There was no suspense in the following competition. Anyone who met Lu Ming directly admitted defeat, including the top 10 geniuses. Haha, junior brother Lu Ming, I admit defeat. I'm no match for you. Later, Zifeng also met Lu Ming and admitted defeat. Later, Lu Ming met Luo Xiang. Lu Ming thought that Luo Xiang would fight him, but he didn't expect Luo Xiang to shake his head and say, Lu Ming, we'll have another chance to spar in the future. I'm no match for you now. After saying that, he directly left the fighting ring. Just like that, Lu Ming defeated all of his opponents in a sweeping manner. All competitions in this year's treasure sorting convention are over. When the unification of shattered energy was announced, Dragon God Valley cheered enthusiastically. Dragon God Valley had won, and there was no need to calculate the points. They all knew that Dragon God Valley had won. Lu Ming had swept through everyone by himself. Adding on the 10 points awarded to him, there was no longer any suspense. The Divine Dragon Valley has won first place in this treasure sorting meeting. The 2 primordial treasures belong to the Divine Dragon Valley for safekeeping. We will compete again in 3 years, Piyuan Gui announced. Ha ha ha, now give me the 2 treasures. The Purple Dragon Valley Master stood up and looked at the great sage of the Heavenly God Sect. The great saints of the Heavenly Divinity Sect were extremely indignant. He had brought the 2 treasures with him, but he had never thought of handing them over. With the Heavenly Divinity Sect's lineup, it was certain that they would take first place this time. They did not expect the 4th layer Martial Dominator Realm Kid who claimed to challenge the God's Son 3 years ago would possess such outstanding strength, killing Luo Shuihan and defeating the others, helping the Dragon God Valley to come first in the trial. Now he had no choice but to hand it over. Damned little bastard. You can't even rest when you're about to die. The great sage of the Heavenly God Sect roared in his heart. In his opinion, Lu Ming would definitely be killed by the Divine Son. There was no doubt about it. There could not be another possibility. However, even if Lu Ming was dead, the Dragon God Valley would still come first in the trial and have the 2 treasures for 3 years. What is it? Why are you so hesitant? Are you not going to hand it over? The Purple Dragon Valley Master said with a hollow laugh. Fine, you won't be able to discover anything in 3 years. The great sage of the Heavenly Divinity Sect said coldly. It had been so many years, and one of the two treasures was said to contain the secret to achieving the martial monarch realm. However, no one had managed to discover anything after so many years. He did not believe that the Dragon God Valley would be able to discover anything in 3 years. He took out a storage ring and threw it to the Purple Dragon Valley Master. The Purple Dragon Valley Master received it and scanned it with his spiritual sense. Lu Ming's eyes flickered too. He was not too interested in the other treasure. He was hoping to obtain the fragment of the prison-suppressing boulder. Bang! The sky buzzed as a powerful pressure descended. The god sun stood in the air, his body glowing with sacred light. He stood above the fighting ring and looked down at Lu Ming coldly. Many people were shocked. Were the god sun and Lu Ming going to fight? Lu Ming, I'll give you time to recover. The god sun said coldly, Why do I need to recover? We can fight now. Lu Ming swept his gaze toward the divine sun. He rose into the air and stood opposite him. There was no doubt that Lu Ming and the god sun had become the focus of attention. Are they finally going to fight? Someone murmured. In fact, many people had come to the treasure convention to watch the battle between Lu Ming and the god sun. Do you think Lu Ming can fight the god sun? It'll be difficult. The god sun entered the saint realm a year and a half ago, but Lu Ming is only a half saint. Moreover, he's only in the second stage. The gap is too big. It's almost impossible for a non-saint level battle saint to fight. Moreover, the god sun is stronger than the average saint realm. Lu Ming has no hope. Many people discussed and some sighed. They thought that Lu Ming was no match for the god sun. Go master, beat him. Xiang Xiang waved her little fist. Long Yuan Shan, Yang Tianzong, Tian Chue, Xuaningxin, and the others watched quietly. They could not help but worry. Sacred light danced on the god sun. Even his eyes turned into milky, white, sacred light. He said coldly, Lu Ming, although your combat strength is not bad, I'll let you know the difference between a non-saint level battle saint and a saint realm. Bam! The god sun stepped out like the son of God. Sacred light burst forth, and a powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Then he slapped out, and a huge palm print of sacred light pressed down on Lu Ming. Sacred power surged, and the precepts flowed. It was extremely terrifying. You're only using the power of a luminous saint realm? You're really looking down on me. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He did not dodge and threw a punch. Lu Ming's fist shone, and the shadow of a tablet could be vaguely seen. Boom! An earth-shattering roar sounded. The huge palm print of sacred light was shattered by Lu Ming's punch. Lu Ming rushed through the sacred light and attacked the god sun. Many people were shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He directly broke the god sun's attack and took the initiative to attack the god sun. Could Lu Ming really have the combat strength of a saint realm? At the thought of this, many people widened their eyes and held their breaths. They stared at the scene without blinking, afraid that they would miss the key scene. The god sun's eyes turned cold. His palms emitted a bright sacred light, as if they were two pieces of milky white sacred stone. They were crystal clear and holy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. His palms continued to attack Lu Ming. They were extremely terrifying, as if they could destroy everything. Lu Ming's palms flowed with the law of primal chaos as he used the suppressing hell skill. He was not afraid at all and continued to attack. Dong! 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 Dense collisions sounded. Lu Ming and the god sun had collided hundreds of times in an instant. Every time they collided, there was a dull roar in the sky. The two of them crossed each other like two streams of light. Some of the weaker cultivators could not see them clearly. Dong! After the last attack, the two of them kept retreating. However, Lu Ming only retreated 3 steps, while the god sun retreated 9 steps. The god sun was at a disadvantage. Chapter 1697. This is impossible. Everyone in the Celestial Divine sect roared in their hearts, finding it difficult to accept all of this. In their hearts, the divine child, who was invincible among his peers, had actually been forced into a disadvantageous position by a half-saint with his cultivation of the saint realm. This was simply like a fantasy story. How is this possible? How is this possible? Mo Yang shook his head again and again as he roared in his heart. All this time he had never taken Lu Ming seriously, thinking that he could easily crush Lu Ming. However, he did not expect that this time his imagination would be completely overturned. Previously, Lu Ming had easily killed Luo Shuihan, which made his heart tremble. Facing Lu Ming, he did not even dare to fight and directly admitted defeat. He thought that Lu Ming would definitely die at the hands of the divine child. However, he now realized that Lu Ming had not used much of his strength before, and now he could actually suppress the divine child. Why is he so strong? Why am I not the strong one? Who is Lu Ming? What qualifications does he have to have such combat strength? Mo Yang roared in his heart, feeling extremely jealous. Lu Ming, you really did not disappoint me, but this is far from enough. In the Celestial Divine sect area, Xian Yinjuan's eyes sparkled as he whispered in his heart. On the other hand, the Dragon God Valley was already cheering. Divine child, is this your combat strength? It doesn't seem to work. Lu Ming's slightly mocking voice rang out. There was a trace of surprise in the divine child's eyes as he said, Lu Ming, your combat strength is indeed beyond my expectations. Unfortunately, you have met me, so you are destined to die. Bang! The divine child stepped out, and the holy light on his body became even more intense, turning into a pillar of light that shot into the sky. Bang! Bang! Next, the Son of God took one step at a time toward Lu Ming. With every step he took, the aura on his body became stronger. In the end, the Son of God's aura was so powerful that it was several times stronger than before. Great achievement of the bright saint realm! In the Dragon God Valley, the purple Dragon Valley Master could not help but let out a cry of surprise. What? The Son of God has already reached the great success stage of the Bright Saint Realm. So fast? The Great Bright Sage Realm is several times stronger than the Small Bright Sage Realm. Lu Ming is finished. The deity's cultivation is too high. Lu Ming is no match for him. What a pity. Lu Ming is indeed incomparably powerful and rarely seen since ancient times. If he was given a few more years, he might even be able to fight against a divine child. Heaven is jealous of geniuses. The time given to him is too short. Many people sighed, some shook their heads, but there were also some who rejoiced in Lu Ming's misfortune, hoping that he would be killed. For example, Silver Dragon Valley's Yin Zisong and the others all had ferocious expressions on their faces, hoping that Lu Ming would be killed. The strength Lu Ming displayed this time was too shocking. If Lu Ming was not killed, where would there be room for them in Dragon God Valley in the future? Haha, Lu Ming, you will die in the end. Mo Yang was laughing in his heart, but his face was full of malevolence. Whoa! Above the deity's head, a small snow-white pagoda emerged and rapidly grew in size. At the same time, a battle sword appeared in his hand, covered in holy light. There was no doubt that these were all sacred weapons. Whoa! The small, snow-white pagoda grew to the size of a mountain and suppressed Lu Ming. With the deity's great bright sage realm cultivation, the power of the sacred weapon was extremely powerful. At this moment, light spots appeared on Lu Ming's body, and from each light spot, a sacred weapon flew out. A total of 36 sacred weapons were suspended around him. The others were dumbfounded, and they almost bit their tongues. 36 sacred weapons. Lu Ming had taken out 36 sacred weapons all of a sudden. Most of the people were dumbfounded. Most people had never even touched a sacred weapon and had only seen others use it. But now, Lu Ming had taken out 36 sacred weapons all of a sudden. It was infuriating to compare oneself to others. What's the use of having so many sacred weapons? The deity said coldly. The huge pagoda shone and suddenly pressed down. Around Lu Ming, the 36 sacred weapons aura connected with each other and converged on a large cauldron. Go! Lu Ming waved his hand, and the large cauldron rapidly grew in size and collided with the huge pagoda. Boom! Like two mountains colliding, the sky shook violently. After the large cauldron and the huge pagoda collided, they were evenly matched and retreated together. Kill! The deity held a long spear in his hand and charged at Lu Ming. The long spear pierced the air and made a terrible whistling sound. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He grabbed the black dragon's spear next to him, and the aura of the sacred weapon gathered, and the precepts circulated as he charged at the deity. The light collided in the void, and the force was rampant, sweeping in all directions. Around them, powerhouses like Valley Master Purple Dragon waved their hands and laid down a defensive light screen. Otherwise, those below the Saint Realm would have died if they were hit by the force. Great Saint Light technique! The deity roared, and the sacred light on his body became even brighter. In the end, it turned into a sacred light armor that covered the deity. The deity's power was even stronger. The deity's spear of punishment pierced through the void, and there was nothing it could not destroy. The deity began to suppress Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and activated the divine sword art. 2 pitch-black rays of light burst out from his eyes and rushed into the deity's forehead. The deity's forehead shone brightly, and the deity only shook slightly as if nothing had happened. Lu Ming's current soul power was equivalent to the Bright Saint initial success, but the deity was an existence of the Bright Saint great success, and most likely had a way to defend the soul. Lu Ming's divine sword art had little effect on the deity. Chaos! Lu Ming whispered. A chaos-flipping sky seal appeared in his left hand, and he threw it at the deity. The chaos-flipping sky seal grew rapidly and pressed down, making the deity's face turn grave. He controlled the giant pagoda to crash against the chaos-flipping sky seal, but the deity's spear of punishment in his hand did not stop, and he attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the black dragon spear in his hand to meet the attack. Boom! The giant pagoda was sent flying, but the chaos-flipping sky seal disappeared without a trace. Again, Lu Ming condensed another chaos-flipping sky seal in his hand, and he attacked the deity. Lu Ming condensed the chaos-flipping sky seal while fighting the deity with the 10,000 soldier art. For a moment, the two were evenly matched, and the battle became a draw. They kept colliding in the void, and it was extremely fierce. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation, as he was only in the second stage of the half-saint realm. Back in the 100-tribe battlefield, Lu Ming, his second body, and Bubble had killed an existence of the Bright Saint great success in a few moves. But that was because the three of them worked together. If Lu Ming's main body was alone, he could at most suppress the existence of the Bright Saint great success slightly, but he definitely could not kill the other party. But now, Lu Ming had 36 saint weapons sealed in his body, and he had cultivated in seclusion in the Dragon God Valley for more than a month. He had finally cultivated the chaos-flipping sky seal to the 6th level. Lu Ming's main body's overall combat power was stronger than when he was in the 100-tribe battlefield. However, because the saints outside could operate their precepts more smoothly, their battle prowess was stronger than the saints in the 100-tribe battlefield. Chapter 1698. Lu Ming and the deity fought fiercely. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 100 blows. At this moment, everyone present was no longer shocked, but numb. They were numb to Lu Ming's combat strength. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded their imagination. They had never heard of a Stage 2 half-saint being able to fight against a greater achievement Bright Sage Saint. Moreover, the other party was a demonic genius. Everyone was only focused on the final outcome of this battle. Everyone held their breaths and clenched their fists. They watched nervously without blinking. They knew that this battle was destined to be recorded in the history of Sangzhou. It would be known as a pinnacle battle. Lu Ming's main body was surrounded by 36 sacred weapons. He held the chaotic sky flipping seal in his hand. He looked like a god of war. On the other hand, the deity's pagoda floated above his head. He held the spear of divine punishment and was covered in sacred light armor. He looked like the son of God. The two fought in the void and exchanged more than 10 blows. At this moment, the deity's son started to feel anxious. Even with his cultivation level, he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. He was extremely shocked. Lu Ming must die. If this continues, I won't be his match in a few years. The deity's son couldn't accept this thought. However, he knew that it was the truth. Therefore, he had to kill Lu Ming today. Sword of sacred light. The deity shouted. A snow-white sword flew out from between his eyebrows. As soon as the sword appeared, Sword Chi soared into the sky and stirred up the clouds. Great sacred weapon, damn it! The Purple Dragon Valley's Valley Master shouted furiously. The others in Dragon God Valley were also shocked. The deity had refined a great sacred weapon. A great sacred weapon was much stronger than an ordinary bright sage weapon. It was the exclusive sacred weapon of a supreme saint. Lu Ming and the deity's son were evenly matched. However, the great sacred weapon had broken the balance. Sword of sacred light. Slash! The deity put away the spear in his hand and held the sword of sacred light. He slashed out, and a terrifying sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom! This sword strike struck the primal chaos cyclic sky seal that was bombarding him. The primal chaos cyclic sky seal shook violently before exploding in the air. Then, the Son of God stepped forward with his sword in hand and slashed at Lu Ming again. The black dragon spear in Lu Ming's hand swept out towards his opponent. Clang! The radiant sword struck the black dragon spear, causing it to vibrate violently. Lu Ming felt a terrifyingly sharp qi surge towards him, causing him to involuntarily retreat. The holy light sword did not stop and continued to slash at him. Lu Ming's mind moved, and the holy weapons around him blocked in front of him. They were all defensive types. Boom! Boom! The saint weapons vibrated and several of them were sent flying. Lu Ming had to retreat several steps before he was able to block the attack. Now that the Divine Son had taken out his great sage weapon, his battle prowess had increased greatly. Lu Ming was already at a disadvantage. Kill! The Son of God held his sword and charged towards Lu Ming again. Holy weapons danced around Lu Ming as he activated his battle weapon qi and fought with his opponent. After the previous battle, Lu Ming stopped using the primal chaos cyclic sky seal. Although the primal chaos cyclic sky seal was powerful, it consumed too much energy. If he continued to use it, he would definitely run out of true essence. Kill! The Son of God shouted. His killing intent was wild as he launched a torrential attack on Lu Ming. Up until now, he had not killed Lu Ming. To him, it was a great humiliation. He wanted to kill Lu Ming as soon as possible. Lu Ming blocked with the 10,000 weapon art, but he kept retreating. He was suppressed by the Son of God. Swoosh! After blocking the Son of God's sword strike, Lu Ming soared into the sky. You want to leave? You can't. The Son of God said coldly. He soared into the sky and charged towards Lu Ming. Who said I'm leaving? Lu Ming's voice was heard. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella shone and a figure walked out. Ming Lian's second body. As soon as the second body appeared, the Tai Chi array disc floated in the air. A Tai Chi pattern suppressed the Son of God. At the same time, Lu Ming's main body also attacked. He looked down from above and became one with his spear. He turned into a dazzling spear radiance and swooped down towards the Son of God. The Tai Chi array disc had the power of sealing and destruction. It floated above the Son of God, trying to seal and destroy him. Whoosh! Lu Ming's main body's attack arrived. The spear radiance pierced towards the Son of God's glabella. Holy light burst out from the Son of God's body. He roared and slashed out with his sword, hitting Lu Ming's spear radiance. Boom! The Son of God's body fell. Kill! Ming Lian's second body controlled the Tai Chi array disc and continued to suppress the Son of God. At the same time, he operated the array law. Endless runes spread out and formed a battle sword that slashed towards the Son of God. Lu Ming's main body continued to attack. The main body and the second body joined forces, not giving the Son of God a chance to catch his breath. Everyone present was dumbfounded. How could there be two Lu Mings at the scene? How dare you use two against one? You've broken the rules. The great sage of the celestial god sect shouted, his eyes cold. Are you blind? I can't tell. The aura of the two Lu Mings is exactly the same. They're clearly the same person. This is just a secret technique. Although the Valley Master of Purple Dragon Valley was shocked, he sneered and refuted the great sage of the celestial god sect. That's right. This is just a secret technique. The two of them are actually the same person, just like clones. What's wrong with that? If you're so capable, ask the Son of God to use his clones too. Tian Chui said. Humph, it's not your turn to interrupt when the elders are talking. You're so insolent. The great sage of the celestial god sect waved his sleeves, then turned his head coldly without saying a word. Indeed, Lu Ming's main body and second body had the same aura and soul fluctuations. They were clearly the same person, just like clones. However, they were much more advanced than clones. The two bodies could cultivate different cultivation techniques and comprehend different laws. This was simply unbelievable. No matter what, since they were the same person, it was not against the rules. Asking the Son of God to use his clones was a joke. The strength of the clones was only a fraction of the real body's strength. Moreover, using the clones now would only weaken the combat power of the real body. It was not wise at all. Lu Ming's main body and second body attacked continuously. The attacks were like a storm, not giving the Son of God a chance to catch his breath. The situation had completely reversed from before. Now it was the Son of God who was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming kept attacking. Is the Son of God going to lose? It can't be. A non-saint is going to kill a saint? Oh my God, this is too terrifying. Many people could not hide the shock in their hearts and exclaimed, Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to force the Son of God to this extent. No wonder I lost to you and the Xia family in the divine wilderness continent. However, this is not enough. The Son of God still has a secret technique that he hasn't used yet. Xian Yinjuan's eyes flickered with surprise as he muttered. Lu Ming's main body and second body attacked continuously. They cooperated with each other and their power increased greatly. Son of God, is this all you've got? It seems like you're the one who will die today. Chapter 1699. Xian Yanqing had told him that the deity had another secret technique. Once he cast it, his strength would increase tremendously for a short period of time. He had to be on guard. Lu Ming, you're courting death. You forced me to do this. Holy explosion technique. The deity roared. Boom! At this moment, the deity's body glowed with holy light. The holy light armor on his body exploded and turned into holy light that entered the deity's body. At this moment, the deity's aura skyrocketed and rushed toward the peak of the bright sage realm. What? The deity has another secret technique. What a terrifying secret technique. His aura has begun to skyrocket. It's so powerful and it's still rising. Even his aura has changed. Many people exclaimed, Roar! At this moment, the deity let out a beast-like roar. His eyes turned red, and there was a trace of ferocity on his face. The pure, white, holy light on his body was no longer pure, and there was a trace of blood in it. Lu Ming Dai. The deity roared and slashed out with his sword. The Tai Chi pattern was broken by the sword and dissipated in the air. At the same time, the sword light struck Lu Ming's long spear. Lu Ming's body shook violently. He felt an irresistible force coming at him, and his body flew into the sky. Kill! The deity roared. He took a step forward and charged forward. The sword light was shocking, as if it could destroy everything. Countless runes appeared on the second body and turned into various weapons that flew toward the deity. At the same time, the Tai Chi array plate shone and another Tai Chi pattern appeared. Then the Tai Chi pattern split into two and turned into a pair of yin and yang fish swords that slashed toward the deity. Bam! 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 The deity's sword light easily destroyed the various weapons formed by the second body's array principles. The sword light struck the yin and yang fish swords. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew in all directions, and the sword chi was rampant. The yin and yang fish swords were sent flying. Buzz! In the sky, a huge chaotic cyclic sky seal pressed down on the deity. Behind the chaotic cyclic sky seal, Lu Ming swooped down with 36 sacred weapons and attacked the deity. Holy slash break! The divine child roared and slashed out with his sword. A beam of sword chi of saint light shot up into the sky. It was tens of thousands of feet tall, as if it could split the world in two, and slashed at the chaotic flipping sky seal. Sizzle! When the sword light struck the primal chaos flipping sky seal, an ear-piercing sound was heard. The sword light was actually breaking through the primal chaos flipping sky seal quickly. Bang! In the end, the primal chaos flipping sky seal exploded. The sword light did not stop and collided with Lu Ming behind the primal chaos flipping sky seal. Terrifying vibrations continued to ring out as Lu Ming's saint weapons were sent flying one by one. Lu Ming's body was once again sent flying into the air. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was also shocked. After the deity used his secret technique, his strength increased by several times. However, Lu Ming was not afraid. Instead, his eyes revealed a strong fighting spirit. Fight! 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 Lu Ming did not retreat. Instead, he closed in. His main body and second body attacked the deity at the same time. All kinds of attacks bombarded the deity. The deity held the Supreme Saint Battle sword in his hand. A beam of sword light slashed out and destroyed Lu Ming's various attacks. Then the battle sword continued to slash out. Beams of dazzling sword light surged toward Lu Ming. Bang! 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 Explosions continued as Lu Ming's various attacks were destroyed. His body retreated. Kill! The deity turned into a beam of sword light and shot up into the sky, attacking Lu Ming's main body. Clang! 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 The sword light bloomed, and the saint weapons that surrounded Lu Ming were sent flying one by one. In fact, a crack had appeared on one of the shields after being slashed by the battle sword. Lu Ming, you are dead meat today, the deity said coldly as he continued to attack Lu Ming. Swoosh! A beam of sword light almost split Lu Ming's body in half. Lu Ming did not call out Bubble for help. Bubble was a spiritual beast and was not considered within his combat strength. If he called out Bubble, the supreme saint of the celestial god sect would probably intervene. He could only rely on himself. Whoosh! Lu Ming's main body retreated quickly. His second body stepped forward and controlled the Tai Chi array disc to suppress the deity. Clang! The deity's sword slashed the Tai Chi array disc. The Tai Chi array disc shook and was sent flying. It was not that the Tai Chi array disc was weak, but that the second body's cultivation was limited and could not unleash much of its power. Kill! The deity charged toward Lu Ming's main body again as if he had his eyes on Lu Ming's main body. Lu Ming tried his best to block, but he was no match for the deity. He was in danger and was almost cut in half again. He narrowly avoided the attack. Lu Ming is out of tricks. He is using all his strength. Yes, he is strong enough, but he is no match for the deity. He is going to die here. What a pity! At this point in the battle, it was obvious that Lu Ming had used all his strength. Unfortunately, he was no match for the deity. Poof! The sword light swept across Lu Ming's body, and a bloody wound appeared. Blood flowed out. Lu Ming, you don't have a chance anymore. The divine sun bellowed. His attacks were like a violent storm. Lu Ming was in danger. But even in danger, Lu Ming's face was still calm. He used the law of chaos to the extreme and fought with the deity. At the same time, his second body also continuously attacked the deity. The law of chaos. Deity, I will use you to break through the law of chaos. In danger, Lu Ming was exceptionally calm. His essence, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated. The true origin in his body was operating to the extreme. The law of chaos was also operating to the extreme. The more dangerous it was, the more potential it could stimulate. Poof! A sword light pierced through Lu Ming's shoulder. But Lu Ming's spiritual body was so strong that it contained a wisp of chaotic chi. It was not weaker than a mid-level heaven spiritual body. The spiritual body immediately squirmed and sealed the wound. It destroyed the destructive power of the sword chi so that it would not cause too much damage. The law of chaos, the law of chaos. These words kept appearing in Lu Ming's mind. His spirit seemed to have entered a mysterious state, the ethereal state of life and death. When facing the fatal threat of the deity, Lu Ming finally entered that state again. Buzz! At this moment, there was an invisible wave in the sky that rushed into Lu Ming's body. That is the law of chaos. Someone yelled. Lu Ming has broken through. He actually broke through in the battle with the deity. Unbelievable. He is going to break through the law of chaos. Is the battle going to be reversed again? Everyone was shocked. The overlords of the heavenly divine sect even stood up and unleashed their energy. The law of chaos needs some time to adapt to the law of chaos. Deity, kill him now. The great sage of the heavenly divine sect yelled. Lu Ming, be careful. Purple Dragon Valley Master also yelled to remind Lu Ming. Everyone knew that this battle had reached a critical juncture. If Lu Ming could survive the time his body needed to adapt to the law of chaos, he might be able to reverse the battle and kill the deity. Lu Ming's combat power was already terrifying enough. If he broke through again, he might really be able to defeat the deity. Besides, the deity's secret art could increase his strength in a short period of time. But that was only for a short period of time. If that happened, the deity would definitely die. Chapter 1700. Lu Ming, you don't have a chance. Kill. The Son of God shouted and raised his combat strength to the maximum as he charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming retreated quickly. Lu Ming indeed needed some time to adapt to the law of primal chaos. This was the most dangerous time for him. You can't escape. The Son of God chased after him. Whoosh! Whoosh! A pair of yin-yang fish swords slashed at the Son of God. Get lost! The Son of God slashed out with his sword and sent the yin-yang fish swords flying. He seemed to have seen the difference between the primary and the secondary. He stared at Lu Ming's main body and ignored the secondary body. Whoosh! 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 Concentrated air-piercing sounds could be heard as the second body took out 21 phoenix feather-flying swords. They formed a sword formation and stabbed toward the divine sun. Get lost! Get lost! The Son of God swept his sword and the sword chi broke through the air. The phoenix feather-flying swords were all sent flying. But at that moment, Lu Ming's secondary body appeared in front of Lu Ming's main body and blocked it. At the same time, his hands were waving rapidly. In the air, countless inscriptions appeared and large arrays appeared. There were all kinds of defensive, entrapment, entanglement, and offensive arrays that rushed at the Son of God. Now, the secondary body's main purpose was to stall for time. Trying to stall for time? Break. The Son of God was furious. With a sweep of his sword, the arrays were broken one by one. The secondary body took a few steps, and with every step, countless inscriptions appeared. One after another, large arrays appeared in the air. Although these large arrays couldn't hurt the Son of God, it was good as long as they could delay him a little. The secondary body's hands were constantly waving, and inscription talisman scrolls appeared and were opened by the secondary body. The various arrays in the inscription talisman scrolls shone and fell toward the Son of God. These inscription talisman scrolls were the ones that he usually refined. As for Lu Ming's main body, he retreated quickly and tried his best to adapt to the law of primal chaos. Kill! The Son of God roared. Sword light swept out and countless large arrays collapsed. A sword light pierced toward Ming Lian's secondary body at a terrifying speed. Ming Lian's second body waved his hand, and dozens of layers of defense appeared in front of him. However, these defenses were like paper in front of the sword light. They couldn't withstand a single blow and were instantly pierced through. Puff! The sword light pierced through the chest of Ming Lian's second body, and a big hole appeared. Master! In the stands, Lu Xiangxiang cried out in grief. Junior brother Lu Ming! Tian Chue, Xuaningxin, and Long Yuanshan clenched their fists so tightly that their veins bulged. Everyone at the scene was staring at the battle intently. The battle had entered a critical moment. This battle had exceeded everyone's expectations. At first, many people thought that this was a battle without any suspense. They thought that the divine child could easily kill Lu Ming. However, when the battle between the two really began, it was beyond everyone's imagination. This battle was full of suspense. From the beginning, no one could have predicted the outcome. The two of them continuously used their trump cards and engaged in a peak confrontation. Even now, no one could guess who would win in the end. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths, as if they had forgotten to breathe. Some of the youths were even trembling with excitement. This was a battle between geniuses. They were too far away from the clash between geniuses. Puff! Puff! Ming Lian's second body's chest was pierced through, and he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. However, his eyes were still calm. He took a step forward, and dense inscriptions filled the air, and a large array appeared. Between his eyebrows, the golden spiritual fire burned fiercely, and the law of array, Tao, flowed through his body. Above his head, the Tai Chi array diagram emitted a dazzling light. Another Tai Chi array diagram appeared, and it turned into the yin-yang fish sword. The deity's attacks were relentless as streaks of terrifying sword light slashed out. Every single sword light could easily kill an existence in the bright Saint Minor completion. All of the formations had been swept clean. Clang! Clang! The yin-yang fish sword was sent flying. Ming Lian's second body dodged quickly, but he was still swept by the sword light, and one of his arms was sent flying. However, Ming Lian's second body still stood firmly in front of Lu Ming's main body and tried his best to resist. Get lost! The divine child roared crazily. His secret technique had a limited time, and he could not delay. However, Ming Lian's second body had endless means, and he retreated as he fought, blocking in front of Lu Ming's main body. For a moment, he could not rush over. Puff! Ming Lian's second body was slashed by the sword light again. This time it was more serious. His waist was cut open, and he was almost completely cut into two. Die! The divine child shouted, intending to completely obliterate Lu Ming's second body before killing Lu Ming's main body. You're the one who's going to die. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared in front of the second body, throwing out a punch. Boom! This punch landed on the sword light, and the sword light vibrated. The divine child's body trembled, and he felt a storm of power surging toward him. He could not help but retreat. This figure was Lu Ming's main body. How is this possible? The body needs to adapt to the law of Array Tao. How can you adapt so quickly? The divine child shouted in disbelief. How long had it been? Less than a minute, and Lu Ming had already adapted. Others are others, and I am myself. Divine child, you are the one who will die today, Lu Ming said coldly. With a wave of his hand, he put Ming Lian's second body into the mountain river diagram. Although Ming Lian's second body was severely injured, he would recover after a period of rest. Lu Ming had indeed completely adapted now. The law of chaos flowed through every muscle and cell of Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming felt that he was extremely powerful now. Initially, it was impossible for Lu Ming to adapt to it so quickly. However, Lu Ming had refined a wisp of chaotic aura, and his body contained chaotic aura. The law of chaos was very similar to chaotic qi, which was why Lu Ming could adapt so quickly. Monster, what a monster! He is different from the rest, someone exclaimed. So what if he has adapted? So what if he has stepped into the law of chaos? If he doesn't become a saint, he will still be an ant. Kill! The divine child roared and charged at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch and blasted the divine child's sword radiance. Then 2 black sword radiances burst out from his eyes and rushed into the divine child's glabella. Ah! The divine child screamed and his body shook. As Lu Ming had broken through to the 3rd stage of the sage-to-be, the law of chaos, his soul power had also improved. It was equivalent to the soul power of a great success bright sage, which was equivalent to the divine child's. Using the divine sword, art would naturally have a great impact on the divine child. 9 seals of the divine gate. Lu Ming made a gesture with his hands, and 9 sealed doors appeared and surrounded him in the middle. Then a huge chaotic flipping sky seal appeared and suppressed the divine child. With the breakthrough in cultivation, Lu Ming had improved in all aspects, and his combat strength had skyrocketed. Break! The deity endured the excruciating pain in his soul and roared. He slashed out beams of sword light, breaking the 9 sealed doors. However, the chaotic sky-flipping seal was already pressing down. The deity could only block it with his sword. Boom! Chapter 1701. The divine sun retreated, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming stepped forward, and a huge cauldron appeared in his body. Lu Ming grabbed one of the legs of the huge cauldron and lifted it up. He used the huge cauldron as a hammer and smashed it toward the divine sun. Lu Ming was extremely powerful now. His body contained the law of chaos, and every move he made was as heavy as a mountain. When the cauldron smashed down, the horrifying wind pressure made it difficult for the Shensi to breathe. The Shensi could only block with his sword. Clang! The cauldron hit the Shensi's battle sword, and the sword buzzed as he retreated again. Boom! 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 Then Lu Ming lifted the cauldron and smashed it down like a storm, not giving the Shensi any chance to breathe. 1 step behind, 1 step behind. The Shensi was forced into a disadvantageous position and could only block with his sword. Violent explosions continued to be heard, and the Shensi kept retreating. His body trembled, and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. Crack! After several consecutive clashes, a crack appeared on the huge cauldron in Lu Ming's hands. It was covered with sword wounds. The Shensi's battle sword was a supreme sacred weapon, after all, while the cauldron in Lu Ming's hand was a supreme sacred weapon. It was normal for the supreme sacred weapon to be unable to withstand the continuous attacks. However, Lu Ming did not care at all. He had plenty of supreme sacred weapons. Even the supreme sacred weapons, sealed in his acupoints, could be replaced. Dong! The last hit cracked a large part of the cauldron, but the Shensi was also forced to retreat. Chaotic flipping sky seal! Lu Ming waved his hands, and a huge chaotic flipping sky seal was formed and pressed down on the Shensi. This was Lu Ming's full attack. The Shensi used all his strength and slashed out with his sword, but the chaotic flipping sky seal pressed down, and the sword light collapsed. The chaotic flipping sky seal hit the Shensi, and the Shensi's body fell down like a meteorite. Below him was the battle platform. Boom! The Shensi fell on the battle platform, half kneeling on it and spitting out blood. At this time, the Shensi's aura was rapidly weakening. In an instant, the Shensi's aura had weakened many times, and he was barely at the Saint Realm. His secret technique's time was up. Clearly, this secret technique of his had a side effect. Once the time passed, his strength would rapidly decrease. Whoosh! Lu Ming landed on the fighting ring and looked at the deity coldly. The divine son's face was pale and his clothes were stained with blood. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and disbelief. He had lost. He had actually lost to Lu Ming. Godson, 3 years ago, you were so high and mighty. You saw me as an ant and you could kill me. Did you think that today would come? Lu Ming said coldly, "Ha ha ha. I hate that I didn't kill you 3 years ago." The divine son laughed as if he had gone mad. 3 years ago you wanted to kill me, but you couldn't because my senior brother was there. People like you can only show off because you have a higher realm. Without the advantage of a higher realm, you are nothing. Now, I'll send you on your way to accompany Luo Shuihan. As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, he stepped forward. The cauldron had already disappeared, replaced by a battle sword in his hand. Stop! Enough! A few angry roars could be heard from the heavenly god sect's spectator stand. Powerful auras burst out and pressed down on Lu Ming. What are you doing? Are you going to do it because the young one can't do it? Valley Master Purple Dragon also released a powerful aura as he stared at the heavenly god sect. Beside Valley Master Purple Dragon, the other Sage Realm experts of the Divine Dragon Valley did the same. Godson, you can't die. The great sage of the heavenly god sect said coldly as he looked at Lu Ming coldly. Can't die? What a joke. 3 years ago, the godson and I agreed to a life and death battle. Either I die or he dies. Lu Ming sneered and stepped forward to attack the godson. The godson's face changed, and he quickly retreated in the direction of the heavenly god sect's spectator stand. If you dare to attack, I'll kill you. The great sage of the heavenly god sect said coldly. A god's punishing spear appeared in his hand, and he charged at Lu Ming. A great sage was extremely terrifying, and his strength was much stronger than a sage realm expert. A casual attack from him was earth-shattering. Lu Ming immediately felt goosebumps all over his body and his muscles tensed up. At this moment, a dragon roar was heard and a purple light burst out, clashing with the god's punishing spear of the great sage of the heavenly god sect. Then, in a flash, Valley Master Purple Dragon appeared in front of the great sage of the heavenly god sect and said, "You're shameless. You lost the life and death battle and a great sage attacked. I'll be your opponent. Get lost." The great sage of the heavenly god sect shouted and thrust out his spear as if it could pierce through the void. Valley Master Purple Dragon's body emitted purple light and he threw out a punch, clashing with the god's punishing spear. The sky was filled with purple and white. "Godson, you can't escape." Lu Ming continued to charge at the godson. "You're courting death. Kill him." A few sages of the heavenly god sect rushed over and charged at Lu Ming. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted and executed the divine sword art. The few sages trembled and Lu Ming's battle sword slashed down. Puff! A great success sage expert was slashed in half by Lu Ming's sword. Even his sage heart was shattered. A great success sage expert was killed by Lu Ming's sword. The surrounding people were dumbfounded and speechless. This kind of combat power was too terrifying. A non-saint had killed a saint, and the one he had killed was a great success bright saint. The other sages of the heavenly god sect felt a chill down their spines. However, what welcomed them was another slash from Lu Ming. Bang! A saint in the initial stages of the bright saint realm had used a saint weapon to block, but the saint weapon had collided with his own body. Together with the saint weapon, he had smashed into the battle stage, causing it to crack. As for that saint, he was deader than dead. At this moment, the sages of the divine Dragon Valley arrived and blocked the sages of the heavenly god sect. Lu Ming stepped towards the god son and closed in on him instantly. The god son's face turned even paler. Lu Ming, how dare you kill the god son? The heavenly god sect won't let you go. The great sage of the heavenly god sect shouted. The god son was a rare genius of the heavenly god sect. He had a high chance of breaking through to the absolute saint realm in the future. They had already lost Luo Shuihan. The god son couldn't die. Previously, they couldn't interfere with Luo Shuihan's death during the treasure sorting assembly. However, now that it wasn't the treasure sorting assembly, they had to protect the god son. Then I'll flatten the heavenly god sect. This was Lu Ming's reply. He was overbearing and instantly closed in on the god son. Kill! The god son knew that he couldn't escape. Madness flashed in his eyes as he held his sword and charged towards Lu Ming. However, his current strength was only equivalent to a great success sage expert. He wasn't a match for Lu Ming at all. Lu Ming slashed with his sword and struck the combat sword of the divine sun. The combat sword vibrated, and the terrifying power made it difficult for the divine sun to hold the sword. The combat sword, which was at the level of a great sacred weapon, was sent flying. Lu Ming used his true origin to suck the battle sword into his hand and put it away. Lu Ming, let's die together. Chapter 1702. Lu Ming shot out 2 rays of black light from his eyes and pierced into the deity's body. The deity's soul felt like it was being torn apart, and the true origin in his body stagnated. Poof! Lu Ming's combat sword pierced into the deity's dantian and shattered his saint heart. The deity's power of law turned into a beam of light and shot up into the sky. No! The supreme saint of the celestial god sect roared. The deity's eyes widened and were filled with indignation. With his talent, he would have become the overlord of Tsangzhou in the future. However, he had met Lu Ming. 3 years ago, Lu Ming was only a LV for martial royal realm cultivator, while the deity had reached the limit of the sage-to-be and possessed the power of law. He did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. He was overbearing and fearless. At Qilong Lake, he had scolded Lu Ming and the others. Later, when Lu Ming and the others had obtained the treasures of the Dragon Palace, he felt that he had lost face. He was overbearing and wanted to kill Lu Ming at the treasure sorting meeting. At that time, Lu Ming had challenged him, but he did not take him seriously. If it had not been for Yang Tianzong, he would have killed Lu Ming. Even though he had agreed to the challenge, he did not take Lu Ming seriously. How strong could a LV4 martial royal realm cultivator be in 3 years? He was just an ant that he could kill with one slap. However, at the treasure sorting meeting, Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded his expectations. He had killed Luo Shuihan easily. At that time, he still did not take it seriously. He had reached the great sage realm and had many trump cards. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, he was only a sage-to-be and would not be a match for him. However, when the battle came, he realized that he was wrong. Wrong meant death. Deity's son, since you are stronger than Luo Shuihan and won't cry and beg for mercy, I will give you a quick death. Lu Ming said coldly. His combat sword vibrated and destructive power surged into the deity's son. The deity let out an indignant roar and turned into ashes under Lu Ming's destructive power. The deity's son was dead. At this moment, the rest of the people present did not know what to feel in their hearts. It was incomparably complicated. The deity's son, who had suppressed many geniuses in Sangzhou for more than a decade, had been killed by a young man with a weaker cultivation. Deity's death meant that an even more terrifying genius was born. In the future, who would be a match for Lu Ming's? Could it be that after the Tsang Emperor, another great emperor would be born in the Tsang state? How could this be? Mo Yang muttered to himself in the sky universe demon sex grandstand. Heaven of the heavens of the heaven of the heaven of heaven's heaven. As Xian Yinjuan whispered in the celestial god sex spectator stand. Her eyes were shining. Once the deity's son died, the celestial god sect would be hers. No one could compete with her. Lu Ming, I want you to pay for it with your life. The great sage of the heavens of heaven roared. He wanted to tear Lu Ming into pieces. However, Valley Master Purple Dragon held him back, and he could not free himself. The other sects looked on coldly. No one interfered. This was not the treasure-sorting assembly. It was just a personal feud between Lu Ming and the deity. They had no reason to interfere. Moreover, the Heavens of Heavens sect had expanded too quickly over the years. They were strong and had become the #1 sect in Sangzhou. If the deity's son grew up in the future, he would be a great enemy. However, the experts of the various sects looked at Lu Ming. When Lu Ming grew up in the future, who could be his match? Some of the experts of the sects, such as the Heavens of Heaven Demon sect and the Poison sect, had flickering eyes. No one knew what they were thinking. Boom! Boom! Valley Master Purple Dragon and the great sage of the Heavens of Heaven sect exchanged dozens of blows before retreating. Valley Master Purple Dragon retreated to Lu Ming's side to protect Lu Ming. The great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect was unwilling. He knew that he could not kill Lu Ming today. The Heavens of Heavens sect had been completely defeated in this treasure-sorting assembly. 2 of their strongest sky prides had died. The loss was too great. He did not know how to explain it when he returned. Lu Ming, Divine Dragon Valley. The Heavens of Heavens sect will remember this debt. We will repay it sooner or later. The great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect looked at Lu Ming. He did not hide his strong killing intent. He then waved his hand and shouted, "Disciples of the Heavens of Heavens sect, let's go!" After saying that, he stepped into the air and left. All the elders and disciples of the Heavens of Heavens sect followed him. "Haha, Lu Ming, well done!" Valley Master Purple Dragon came to Lu Ming's side and smiled. But just as he finished speaking, his face suddenly changed. He looked in the direction of the Heavens of Heavens sect. Lu Ming did the same. Boom! A pitch-black hand suddenly appeared in the sky, not far away. It was bigger than a mountain, and it grabbed at the people of the Heavens of Heavens sect. "Who are you?" "You're courting death." The great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect was furious. He formed a long spear in his hand and pierced it towards the large hand. But just as the great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect made his move, a few terrifying sword lights shot out from Tsang Mountain. They instantly traversed hundreds of miles and slashed towards the people of the Heavens of Heavens sect. Puff! Puff! Suddenly, dozens of disciples of the Heavens of Heavens sect were killed by the sword lights. Boom! The long spear of the great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect pierced through the large hand. However, a few figures flew out from Tsang Mountain and rushed towards the people of the Heavens of Heavens sect at lightning speed. The person in the lead had a terrifying aura. He was a great sage expert. The other people were also saint realm experts. Before they arrived, all kinds of terrifying attacks were launched towards the people of the Heavens of Heavens sect. "Who are you people?" The great sage of the Heavens of Heavens sect was furious. Saint light filled the air as he stood in front of the disciples of the Heavens of Heaven sect. The other saints of the Heavens of Heaven sect also stood in front of him to block the attacks. At the peak of Tsang Mountain, everyone was puzzled. Who were these people attacking the Heavens of Heaven sect? Could it be that some other sect was targeting the Heavens of Heaven sect? But at this moment, a terrifying aura rose from the surroundings of Tsang Mountain. Rays of terrifying sword lights and saber lights rose up and attacked the people of the various sects with terrifying might. Oh no, enemy attack! Block it. Many people's faces changed. The great sages of the various sects unleashed all kinds of terrifying attacks to block the sudden attacks. Swoosh! 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 At this moment, many figures rushed out from the surroundings of Tsang Mountain. Every one of them was wrapped in black robes, but the aura they exuded was extremely terrifying. Their sage aura was vast and mighty, suppressing the heavens. The number of people was astonishing. There were at least 50 to 60 of them, and all of them were sage experts. There were even more than 10 of them whose auras were as deep as the sea, unfathomable. They were not any weaker than Valley Master Purple Dragon and the great sages of the Heavens of Heaven sect. Great Sage Realm. At least a dozen of these people who had suddenly appeared were at the Great Sage Realm. Kill! Kill everyone! Leave no one alive! A black-robed man said coldly. Kill! Dozens of sage experts rushed towards the peak of Tsang Mountain from all directions. Attack! At this moment, all the experts on the peak of Tsang Mountain exploded. The bright sages and great sages of the 12 top sects all attacked at the same time. Between heaven and earth, there was a terrifying roar. Valley Master Purple Dragon was up against a black-robed man. The black-robed man was also a great sage, and his combat strength was not any weaker than Valley Master Purple Dragon. The two of them fought fiercely. Chapter 1703. Kill! Some of the black-robed saints went past their opponents and attacked the disciples below the saint level, especially the younger generation. Many people from the major sects were killed in an instant. Screams of agony filled the air. It was a complete mess. There were simply too many black-robed figures, and all of them were saints. The great sages from the various sects were all blocked, and the radiant sages from the enemy forces broke through the defenses of the saints from the various sects and began to hunt down the young chosen. Go to hell! A black-robed man broke through the defense of the saints of Dragon God Valley and attacked the elites of Dragon God Valley. Back off! Feng shouted and stood in front of the others. Kill! There was a cold glint in Lu Ming's eyes. With a flash of wind and thunder, he dashed toward the spectator stand of Dragon God Valley. The Divine Sun's great sage weapon battle sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at the black-robed saint. Poof! The black-robed saint was only an early-stage bright saint, and he was killed by Lu Ming. Swish! Swish! At this time, more than a dozen people rushed out of the Tsang Mountain. They were also saints. They attacked the major sects, and a few of them attacked the Dragon God Valley. There were too many overlords on the other side. Excluding the great saints, there were more than 60 saints, which was more than the saints of the major sections. The other side had obviously planned this. They had been hiding around Tsang Mountain when the major sects were gathered at the top of Tsang Mountain for the treasure meeting. Then they launched a sudden attack. Get lost! The saints of Dragon God Valley fought back, including Lu Ming's second senior brother, Long Yuanshan, and third senior brother, Yang Tianzong. Yang Tianzong was powerful and fought against two powerful black-robed saints alone. But there were too many saints on the other side. Another person broke through the encirclement and attacked Lu Ming and the others. Go to hell! Lu Ming shouted and used the divine sword art, but the other person's body only shook slightly. Two sword auras shot out from his eyes and stabbed at Lu Ming. Divine sword art. Lu Ming was shocked. The other party had also used the divine sword art. These people were from the evil spirit sect. However, Lu Ming's current soul force was extremely powerful. Adding on the fact that he had a spiritual god defensive treasure, he was able to block the opponent's attack. Lu Ming didn't stop moving. His battle sword violently slashed out. Clang! Lu Ming's battle sword clashed with his opponent's battle saber. The other party was a great success bright sage, but Lu Ming's current strength was extremely strong. The other party's body trembled violently and was directly sent flying like a cannonball. Die! Seizing the opportunity, Yang Tianzong turned his palm into a dragon claw and clawed the great achievement Bright Sage Realm expert to death. Brothers, don't resist. Enter my mountain river diagram. Lu Ming hollered. His glabella shone and the mountain river map flew out. With a sweep, Tian Chue, Xuaningxin, Xiang Xiang, and the other disciples of the divine Dragon Valley were all sucked into the mountain river map. The other party had too many saints. Those who were below the saint level were almost unable to resist. They would only be killed, so it was better to take them all in. Seeing that the disciples of the Dragon God Valley were taken in, the saints of the Dragon God Valley were energized. They didn't need to take care of the disciples of the Dragon God Valley anymore. The Dragon God Valley didn't suffer any losses, but the other sects had suffered great losses. The black-robed overlords seemed to have placed more of their focus on the young people below the saint level. Some of them broke through the encirclement and attacked the young people. The major sects suffered heavy casualties. We'll hold them off. You guys go out. Someone yelled. Hold them off. The great saints and saints of the major sects unleashed their full strength and held back the black-robed overlords, giving the young people time to break through the encirclement. Go, go, go! Those who were below the saint level rushed out of Tsang Mountain. However, before they could rush out, a series of attacks burst out from Tsang Mountain and attacked those youths. Immediately, many of them were killed. Swoosh! Swoosh! More figures rushed out of Tsang Mountain. There were so many of them that they were so densely packed that not even a drop of water could trickle through. However, these people weren't saints. They were all half-saints and high-level martial emperors. These people fought fiercely with the disciples of the major sections. It was extremely fierce. Suddenly, an evil-looking young man in a black robe appeared in the sky. He had a cold smile on his face. Behind him stood 4 middle-aged, burly men. Their auras were wild and terrifying. They were far more powerful than ordinary saints. The evil-looking young man looked around and finally fixed his eyes on Lu Ming. Cold-killing intent flashed in his eyes. Whoever kills this person will be rewarded. The evil-looking young man pointed at Lu Ming and said. His voice was heard all over the place. Many black-robed saints looked at Lu Ming. Kill! This guy is mine! Suddenly, the black-robed saints pounced on Lu Ming. All of you get lost! Yang Tianzong roared. His body was covered in dragon scales, as if he had transformed into a real dragon. He tried his best to defend himself, but there were too many people. Although Yang Tianzong was strong and was at the great circle of the Bright Sage Realm, he couldn't fend off too many people. There were still some people who rushed toward Lu Ming. Junior brother, be careful! Yang Tianzong reminded Long Yuan Mountain. Kill! Lu Ming roared. He held his combat sword, and the law of primal chaos filled his body as he stepped out. At the same time, bubbles appeared on his shoulder. In this life and death battle, he couldn't care less about bubbles hiding in the pagoda. Hiding in the pagoda would affect his combat strength. Bubbles waved his paws, and transparent bubbles appeared one after another, enveloping the 3 black-robed saints. The 3 black-robed saints froze. Lu Ming stepped forward and slashed with his combat sword. 2 of the black-robed saints were killed. Only one of the peak Bright Sage Realm experts broke through the transparent bubbles at the critical moment. He blocked Lu Ming's attack and was sent flying. Trash, if you go again, this person will definitely die. The sinister youth's voice sounded again in the sky. He seemed to be filled with killing intent toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked at this person and was shocked. Although Lu Ming was unfamiliar with this youth's appearance, Lu Ming still remembered the look in his eyes. Elder demon soul, your elder demon soul. Lu Ming roared. The sinister youth's expression changed, and he sneered. Kid, your memory is not bad. I didn't expect your cultivation to soar to this level in just a few years. You deserve to die even more. The other party was really Elder Demon Soul. Back then, not long after Lu Ming joined the Dragon God Valley, Yin Feng arranged for him to accept a mission. During this mission, Lu Ming met Elder Demon Soul of the Evil Spirit Sect. In the end, he used the prison-suppressing steel to severely injure Elder Demon Soul and destroy his physical body, but his soul escaped. These sinister youths must be Elder Demon Soul's soul that had been possessed and reborn. Evil Spirit Sect. The other party is from the Evil Spirit Sect. Lu Ming roared, his voice echoing throughout the entire place. Many people were shocked. So they were from the Evil Spirit Sect. No wonder they attacked all the sects at the same time. So what if I know? None of you can leave today. Chapter 1704. Elder Mo Hun stood in the air and said coldly. More experts rushed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming and Bubble cooperated and fought a bloody battle. With Lu Ming's current combat strength, no one could kill him unless they were in the great circle of the Bright Saint Realm. All of you, make your move and end this quickly. Elder Mo Hun ordered the 4 middle-aged men behind him. Yes. The 4 middle-aged men nodded. Their expressions were somewhat stiff. Then they stepped forward, emitting a terrifying aura. This was the aura of a supreme sage. Everyone's expression changed drastically. The other party had 4 supreme sages, enough to turn this battle around. One of them stepped out and charged towards Lu Ming. Not good. Yang Tianzong, Long Yuan Shan, and the others were shocked. Lu Ming stood no chance against a supreme sage expert. Lu Ming had no chance. Kill! The man with the wooden face struck out with his palm, and a terrifying palm print blasted towards Lu Ming. The terrifying pressure made Lu Ming's expression turn grim. Lu Ming retreated quickly, but the palm print followed him like a shadow. Chirp, chirp! Bubble waved his claws, and the space fluctuated. The law of time and space flowed, and a powerful force acted on the middle-aged man. But the other party's cultivation was too strong. Every move of a supreme sage expert could destroy mountains and rivers. Saint energy surged in the middle-aged man's body and broke through the law of time and space. He continued to charge towards Lu Ming. Boom! With a palm strike, Lu Ming's figure shattered like a mirror. A few hundred meters away, Lu Ming's figure appeared with a serious look in his eyes. A supreme sage was too strong. He couldn't resist at all. Bam! The middle-aged man continued to step out and stared at Lu Ming. His speed was astonishingly fast as he approached Lu Ming. Roar! A dragon roar was heard as a purple true dragon pounced towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man threw out a palm strike and collided with the purple true void. His body was forced back. There was a flash of purple light, and the Valley Master of Purple Dragon Valley appeared beside Lu Ming. At this moment, the Valley Master of Purple Dragon Valley was covered with purple dragon scales. They were sparkling and translucent, as if they were made of purple jade. There were also 2 dragon horns on the Valley Master of Purple Dragon Valley. This was the manifestation of the purple dragon combat body that had been unleashed to the extreme. The Purple Dragon Valley Master came to Lu Ming's side. His opponent also charged towards the Purple Dragon Valley Master. Let's gather together and charge out together! The Valley Master of the Purple Dragon Valley roared. He stretched out his claw and blocked the other party's attack. Thereafter, his quintessential essence swirled, and he carried Lu Ming with him. That's right, let's gather together. A great sage from the life and death sword faction shouted. Gather. The supreme sages from the other sects shouted the sages, and ordinary disciples of all the sects began to gather. The people from the Dragon God Valley and the Life and Death Sword sect were the first to gather. After they gathered together, they formed a circle around each other and went into a defensive state, defending with all their might. Then, after paying some price, the other sects also slowly gathered together. At first, it was 1 or 2 or 3 sects that gathered together. Slowly, all the sects gathered together. In the end, even the people from the Heavenly God sect rushed over after paying a heavy price and gathered with everyone. Lu Ming glanced over and saw that at least half of the Heavenly God sect's people were dead. There were originally thousands of people, but now there were less than 2,000 people left. The losses were extremely heavy. However, Xian Yinjuan was clearly under heavy protection and was not seriously affected. The 13 sects gathered together and formed a circle. There were people from the evil spirit sect all around. They surrounded everyone and attacked continuously. However, the combined forces of the 13 top sects were able to fend off the enemy's attack. There are too many people below the sage realm. It's difficult to charge out, someone said. Those below the sage realm, enter my mountain and river painting. Lu Ming shouted, and the mountain and river painting floated out. It's a Grotto Heaven treasure. Yes, enter the Grotto Heaven treasure. Don't resist. The great sage experts all roared in unison. If everyone below the sage realm entered the mountain and river painting, it would be much easier for them to break out of the encirclement. In the sky, Elder Demon Soul's face was gloomy. He shouted coldly, "Attack!" Swoosh! Swoosh! The moment Elder Demon Soul's voice fell, terrifying saber auras burst out. These saber auras didn't attack Lu Ming and the others from the outside, but from the inside. The people of the Intentionless Saber sect attacked the other sects at this time. Intentionless Saber sect, you traitors! The great sage of the Heavenly God sect let out a crazy roar because a great sage of the Intentionless Saber sect had pierced his dantian and shattered his saint heart. Once a sage's saint heart was shattered, his cultivation would be crippled. He had never dreamed that the people of the Intentionless Saber sect would suddenly betray him. Ah, damn it! The others were also furious. The Heavenly God sect and the Demonic Moon sect were close to the Intentionless Saber sect. These two sects had been attacked by the Intentionless Saber sect and suffered heavy losses. The most shocking thing was that there was more than one great sage in the Intentionless Saber sect. There were actually several of them, and they attacked. The 13 sects were immediately in chaos. Obviously, this was premeditated long ago. Kill! The surrounding evil spirit sect cultivators took this opportunity to charge over. The defenses of the various sects in the Tsang province were instantly destroyed. The most miserable ones were the Heavenly God sect and the Demonic Moon sect. The great sages of the two sects were killed. Defend! Purple Dragon Valley Master shouted. The Dragon God Valley and the Life and Death Sword sect stood together and defended with all their strength. Kill! Lu Ming cooperated with Bubbles and killed 2 Sage Realm experts in a row. His body was bathed in sage blood. Intentionless Saber sect, you've already joined the evil spirit sect. Aren't you afraid of the revenge of all the sects in the Tsang state? Someone shouted, Haha, as long as we kill all of you today, we'll know that the Intentionless Saber sect is related to the evil spirit sect. A great sage of the Intentionless Saber sect sneered. Everyone's hearts turned cold. That's right. If they all died today, who would know that the Intentionless Saber sect had joined the evil spirit sect? The Intentionless Saber sect could continue to mingle with the various sects in the Tsang state. At the critical moment, they could give the various sects a fatal blow. You won't succeed. Someone roared. Ha ha ha! My evil spirit sect will rise again. We will be unstoppable. High in the sky, Elder Demon's soul sneered. Roar! At this moment, an earth-shattering roar sounded. The heavens shook, and the earth shook as if an ancient beast was roaring. Then, in the distant sky, an incomparably huge golden claw stretched over. The claw was covered with golden hair, and it grabbed at Elder Demon's soul. Elder Demon Soul's expression changed drastically as he shouted, "An absolute sage!" "Lord, it's the Lord!" Many experts of the Demon Castle shouted excitedly. The others were also very excited. They never expected that the Demon Castle's Lord would come here at this time. But at this moment, a terrifying sword light slashed down from the sky toward the golden claw. Boom! Chapter 1705. Roar! In the distance, a roar rang out. A golden lion as big as a mountain stepped through the air and appeared in front of everyone. This was the Demon Castle's lord, a sun god lion. In the sky, a black-robed man with a sword on his back appeared and confronted the Demon Castle's lord. Everyone's hearts trembled. The evil spirit sect also had a supreme sage hidden here and had not made a move before. Demon Castle's lord, I didn't expect you to come here. Fortunately, I was prepared and brought a supreme sage here, just in case. Elder Demon's soul said coldly. However, his expression was still ugly. The Demon Castle's lord's sudden arrival had already disrupted his plan. Is that so? What about us? Did you expect that? At this moment, a cold voice came from afar. Then, a sword light crossed the endless void and instantly appeared at the peak of Tsang Mountain. The sword light turned, and instantly, 3 evil spirit sect great sages were killed. Blood splattered everywhere. The others were terrified and frantically retreated. It's the life and death sword. The sect master is here. The people of the life and death sword sect were overjoyed. Only then did everyone see that the sword light just now was a black and white sword that emanated a terrifying sword aura. In the distance, 2 figures appeared in the air. One of them was a middle-aged man wearing a black and white robe. The black and white long sword pierced through the air and flew into his hand. This person was the life and death sword sect master. The other person was an old man with a gentle expression. Master! Lu Ming was dumbfounded. The person who appeared with the life and death sword sect master was actually the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, Lu Ming's master. Master, it's Master! Isn't Master busy? Why is he here? Long Yuan Shan and Yang Tianzong exclaimed. As for Elder Demon Soul, his expression was extremely ugly. How could this be? Why would so many experts appear in Tsang Mountain? Why would the life and death sword sect master and the Demon Castle's Lord appear in Tsang Mountain for no reason? Although the treasure ranking meeting was important, no sect master had ever come, right? After all, it was a competition among the younger generation. Even if the sect master came, it would not be of much help. Attack! Annihilate the evil spirit sect demons. The headmaster of the life and death sword faction spoke. He took a step forward, and sword light filled the sky as he charged towards Elder Demonic Soul. Kill! The Demon Castle Lord charged toward the evil spirit sect's absolute sage expert. As for the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, he took a step forward and appeared at the peak of Tsang Mountain. Sword light bloomed in his hand and poured out in torrents. Puff! Puff! The 2 evil spirit sect great sages were unable to resist in front of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and were directly killed. Then, with a sweep of the sword light, more than a dozen bright saints were killed. Unable to resist, they could only be slaughtered. Lu Ming was once again shocked by the strength of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Was the Cloud Dragon Valley Lord, also an absolute saint. Retreat, retreat! The great sage of the evil spirit sect roared. He knew that the situation was hopeless. Kill them all. The great sages of more than a dozen sects roared and launched a counterattack. They charged toward the other party, not allowing them to retreat. At the scene, the people with the ugliest expressions were the people from the intentionless saber sect. They knew that they were finished and wanted to break out frantically. However, how could the experts of the other sects let them break out? They were tightly entangled. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master held a long sword in his hand. His expression was gentle, but with every step he took, an expert died. It was the same whether it was a great sage or a bright saint. In the blink of an eye, the number of great sages who died at the hands of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master reached 7. Puff! A middle-aged man with the strength of a great sage was split in half by the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. At this moment, a scream came from the sky. Elder Demonic Soul's head was cut off by the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master. Although Elder Demonic Soul's cultivation base was high, he had been severely injured 80,000 years ago. Later, his physical body was destroyed by Lu Ming with the fragments of the prison-suppressing steel. Although he was lucky and found a suitable person to possess, his cultivation base was far from recovering to its peak. How could he be a match for the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master? After his physical body was cut off, Elder Demonic Soul's soul escaped. It was the image of an old man, exactly the same as the one Lu Ming had seen back then. Elder Demonic Soul's soul wanted to escape, but the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master slashed out with a sword, and Elder Demonic Soul's soul was destroyed. Ah, the evil spirit sect will avenge me. Elder Mo Hun let out a roar of unwillingness as his soul dissipated into thin air. This expert from 80,000 years ago, an old monster who had struggled at death's door for 80,000 years, was finally destroyed. Brother Yin, you killed too slowly. After killing Elder Demonic Soul, the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master stepped down. A terrifying sword light bloomed from his hand, turning into thousands of sword chi that charged toward the evil spirit sect members. One by one, the evil spirit sect members were harvested like wheat, falling in large batches. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master smiled slightly and took a step forward. He appeared in front of a great sage and killed him with a sword. With the Life and Death Sword faction and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master joining in, there was no longer any suspense in this battle. They couldn't even escape. Soon they were all killed. Only the members of the intentionless saber sect were left. Their faces were pale as they were surrounded by the experts of the other sections. Roar! High up in the sky, the Demon Castle's Fort Master was still fighting with the evil spirit sect's experts. I'll go and lend him a hand. The Life and Death Sword faction's sect master's killing intent was cold. He turned into a sword light and soared into the sky. A terrifying sword scar appeared between heaven and earth. Poof! That evil spirit sect expert let out a miserable cry. He had been hit by the sword and was almost cut in half by the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master. Kill! The Life and Death Sword faction's sect master's battle prowess was incomparably terrifying. Once the Life and Death Sword art was used, he would live and you would die. His battle prowess was clearly stronger than the Demon Castle's Fort Master and that evil spirit sect expert. The sword light slashed past, and one of the evil spirit sect's expert's arms was cut off. Roar! The Demon Castle's Fort Master was as big as a mountain. His golden fur flickered, and the sun flames spread out. The Sun God Lion was undoubtedly a terrifying divine beast. A lion's roar shook the other party's soul. Bam! Then he clawed out and scratched the other party's body, causing the other party to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Then the Life and Death Sword faction's sect master slashed down, and directly split the other party in half. An absolute saint had fallen! At this point, all the evil spirit sect members who had appeared this time had been annihilated. Now that there was no the arch in its song state, absolute saints were the strongest experts who stood at the peak. They were incomparably powerful, and were the king of the saints. They were much stronger than great sages. Once an absolute saint appeared, they could change the situation of the battle. If an absolute saint is so powerful, what about a martial emperor? How terrifying would a martial emperor look down on the world? I really don't know how terrifying that is. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Why are you here? Chapter 1706. The experts of the intentionless saber sect understood that not only were they finished, but the intentionless saber sect was also finished. They sighed. They were too unlucky to have met the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, the Demon Castle Master, and the Life and Death Sword Sect Master. Do you think it's a coincidence that we're here? We've been here for a long time, waiting for the intentionless saber sect to make a move. If you don't make a move, how will we suppress the intentionless saber sect in the future? The Life and Death Sword Sect Master said coldly, What? You've been here for a long time? Did you already know that the intentionless saber sect had joined the evil spirit sect? The great sage of the intentionless saber sect was in disbelief. They had been very secretive about their actions. Of course, we've been investigating this matter all this time. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said, 3 years ago, my disciple Lu Ming encountered an assassination attempt by the evil spirit sect on his way back from the Tsang Mountain. According to him, the intentionless saber sect was the one who attacked. Therefore, all these years, the Demon Castle Master, the Life and Death Sword Sect Master, and I have been secretly investigating. As expected, we found some clues. However, you hid it very well, and we didn't have any evidence. Therefore, we could only wait for you to make a move yourselves. Many people were shocked. So that was the case. 3 years ago, Lu Ming actually encountered an assassination attempt by the evil spirit sect. 3 years ago, so that was the case. That time, we didn't expect Lu Ming to survive. We tried our best, but the heavens didn't protect us. The intentionless saber sect's great sage sighed. He didn't expect that everything would be ruined by Lu Ming. If Lu Ming hadn't survived 3 years ago and told the Cloud Dragon Valley Master that the intentionless saber sect might have colluded with the evil spirit sect, today's incident wouldn't have happened. Their plan would definitely have been carried out smoothly. Kill them. There's no need to talk to them. The Demon Castle Master said with a ferocious look in his eyes. He stretched out his golden claws and grabbed at the people of the intentionless saber sect. The people of the intentionless saber sect were unwilling and wanted to resist, but in the hands of an absolute sage, resistance was futile. In the end, they were killed one by one. Ming, are you all right? The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley stepped forward and came before Lu Ming, Long Yuan Shan, and Yang Tianzong. Master, if you don't make a move, we'll be finished. Yang Tianzong said bitterly, You rascal, are you blaming me for being late? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master scolded jokingly. Disciple doesn't dare. Yang Tianzong said, This time it is of utmost importance to lure out the people of the thoughtless saber sect to attack. If we had attacked earlier, the people of the thoughtless saber sect would definitely not have attacked. Of course, if you guys had really encountered danger, how could I not have attacked? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. Lu Ming, Long Yuan Shan, and the rest nodded. That was indeed the case. If the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and the others had made their move earlier, the people of the intentionless saber sect would not have made their move. Ming, you performed very well this time. Looks like you've gained a lot from the 100 Clan battlefield. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master looked at Lu Ming with satisfaction. To be honest, Lu Ming's performance had exceeded his expectations. Previously, he had also witnessed the battle between Lu Ming and the Divine Sun. I still have to thank Master. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Come on, let's go back. Someone spoke. Lu Ming looked over and saw that it was the people of the Heavenly Divinity Sect. This time, the Heavenly Divinity Sect had suffered a great loss. A great saint was killed, and more than half of their disciples were killed. Most of the people who came to the treasure ranking meeting were the elites of the younger generation. Such a great loss was a heavy blow to the Heavenly Divinity Sect. One could imagine that there would be a gap in the experts of the Heavenly Divinity Sect in the future. A force without new blood to pass on its legacy was very scary. Come on, let's go back. Following that, the sects began to return. Today's matter must be reported to the sects as soon as possible. Some people expressed their gratitude to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, the Life and Death Sword Faction leader, and the Demon Fort Lord before leaving. At this time, Lu Ming released Zi Feng, Tian Shui, and the rest from the Mountain River diagram. When they learned of the situation, they were shocked. All right, let's return to the Dragon God Valley, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master said. After saying that, he waved his hand and a battle sword flew out of his hand. It rapidly expanded to 10,000 meters long and a few hundred meters wide. Thousands of disciples of the Dragon God Valley stepped on the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's sword and flew back to the Dragon God Valley. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's speed was astonishing. Even with thousands of people, his speed was still very fast. In less than a day, they returned to the Dragon God Valley. A few days later, the Battle of Tsang Mountain quickly spread throughout the entire Tsang state. Countless people were dumbfounded. No one had imagined that the treasure meeting this time would actually be so brilliant and so soul-stirring. First, Lu Ming rose as a dark horse. He killed Luo Shuihan and took first place in the treasure ranking meeting. After that, he fought against the Divine Sun and launched a great battle. Lu Ming broke through in the battle and killed the Divine Sun. From then on, Lu Ming was the #1 monster in the Tsang state. After that, there was the matter of the evil spirit sect besieging the major sections. In the battle, the intentionless saber sect rebelled. Every single one of these matters was unbelievable and shocking. As for Lu Ming, his name shook the Tsang state and was remembered by countless people. After another 10 days, a piece of news spread throughout the Tsang state. The 12 major sects of the Tsang state had joined forces and sent out a great army to attack the intentionless saber sect. However, when the experts of the 12 sects arrived, the intentionless saber sect was already empty. All the experts had already retreated, leaving behind only a few people with low cultivation. Where did the experts of the intentionless saber sect go? However, some people guessed that the intentionless saber sect was most likely still in the Tsang state. Furthermore, there was another guess that was even more frightening. Since the intentionless saber sect could join the evil spirit sect, then would the other 12 top sects of the Tsang state also join the evil spirit sect? Could the intentionless saber sect be hiding in one of these sects? The moment this guess was made, the Tsang state was shaken. The 12 top sects were on guard against each other. That was because this guess was very likely. For a time, the various sects of the Tsang state were in turmoil. However, there was one thing that would not change. From now on, there would no longer be 13 top sects in the Tsang state. There would only be 12. During this period of time, Lu Ming had been in seclusion in the Cloud Dragon Valley to stabilize his cultivation. As for Ming Lian's second body, it was also recovering at full strength. A month after the Tsang Mountain battle, Ming Lian's second body had already completely recovered. As for the arm that was chopped off, it had long since grown back. In fact, Ming Lian's second body's cultivation was showing signs of improving. After all, Lu Ming's main body had already reached the realm of the law vessel. Both the main body and the second body were the same person and had the same experience. The second body was not far from the law vessel. As for Bubble, it seemed to be about to break through and was sleeping soundly in the mountain river diagram. On this day, Lu Ming paid a visit to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Ming, you want the fragment of the prison-suppressing steel? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master asked in surprise. Yes, Master. Disciple's other bloodline is the prison-suppressing steel. The fragment of the prison-suppressing steel is very useful to Disciple. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.